Chapter 144. Soon, it was the day of the mini-college entrance examination. The sun rose to the sky early in the morning, urging the group of examinees to wake up. Uncle Wu also made a sumptuous breakfast. This time, the fried eggs and youtiao were on point. However, when he heard Xiao Xiao say that their total score was no longer 100, Uncle Wu added half a youtiao for him, to make it 700. As soon as they entered the school, the door of each classroom was pasted with the examination room number and seat number. It was basically a simulation of the official college entrance examination. The teachers were all waiting solemnly. There were 2 invigilators in each classroom, and a few teachers were in charge of patrolling. The school's broadcasting equipment was checked again and again. There was an English exam in the morning, so everyone was equipped with headphones. When the students came to the classroom with their heavy backpacks, they were all stopped a meter away. Their backpacks, phones, and electronic devices were all handed over. They even went through a special security channel before the students were allowed to enter the classroom. The teacher said that this was a simulation of the college entrance examination. The atmosphere was tense and enthusiastic. Xiao Xiao carried a pencil case and walked into his examination room. He was very happy because he could finally be in the same examination room as Yanran. He saw Yanran walk into the classroom. There were 2 empty seats in front of him. He was about to say a few words when the invigilator on the stage said, "You are not allowed to speak during the exam. Examinees, please return to your seats." Xiao Xiao touched his nose. There were so many requirements. Just like that, in the same examination room, Xiao Xiao and Yanran completed the most important exam in their lives. Xiao Xiao felt that he had done well. The little tadpoles had worked hard this time. He was definitely going to college. Xiao Xiao was in high spirits. The mini-college entrance examination was over in the blink of an eye. The school that had been quiet for 3 days was bustling again. Xiao Xiao walked out of the examination room and looked at the direct sunlight. He stretched and looked back at Yanran, who had also walked out of the examination room. It felt good to advance and retreat together. "Yanran, do you want to go and relax with your classmates? Let's go eat together?" Xiao Xiao looked at her with a smile. Before Yanran could reply, she saw Yi Xuanfei running over like the wind. From afar, she could hear her shouting, "Xiao Xiao, the exams are finally over. Let's go and celebrate." Xiao Xiao smiled bitterly. This Yi Xuanfei was like a dog skin plaster. He couldn't get rid of her. Yanran smiled faintly. "Let's go together. Call Zhang Deong and the others." Zhang Deong and the others ran over from afar, swinging their school bags. They felt as if they had just been reborn. "How did it go?" Zhang Deong asked excitedly. "Looks like you did well in the exam. You're in such a good mood." Xiao Xiao patted his shoulder. Zhang Deong scratched his head embarrassedly. "It's all right. It's better than my usual standards. But I definitely can't compare to Brother Qiao. It's boring to compare with others. The most important thing is to compare with yourself." "Awesome. Deong, I'll give you a thumbs up. Let's go. What do you want to eat? Brother Qiao is treating today." It was as if they had returned to the first year of high school. A group of people marched towards the most popular restaurant in the city. Ma Xiaoshuan's slogan was to make Brother Qiao bankrupt today. What made the group even more excited was that the beautiful Yi Xuanfei had joined the group. Although she was wearing her school uniform, she still deliberately revealed her belly button. The boys' gazes kept drifting downwards. The group of people who swore to make Brother Qiao bankrupt went straight to the most famous 4-star Michelin restaurant in Nanchuan. Fortunately, they had booked a private room in advance on the way. Otherwise, they would have had to wait for at least 2 hours at the door. The decoration of the Michelin restaurant was elegant. Just the green plants alone covered the entire walkway. And the world-famous paintings on the walls made people feel that this was not a restaurant, but an art gallery full of artistic atmosphere. Ma Xiaoxian said exaggeratedly, "Every breath I take is immersed in the atmosphere of art." Wang Jinyan also praised, "This must be a restaurant designed by an artist." The combination of Chinese and Western styles was just right. It had the combination of the Western royal aesthetic and the Eastern classical style. At the corner, a sculpture of Venus stood in front of him without warning. After entering the private room, It was even more exquisite. The entire room was about 50 square meters. It was divided into a rest area and a dining area. The leather sofa in the rest area was comfortable and spacious. Wang Jingyan threw himself directly on the thick sofa cushions and rolled from one end to the other. And the girls were also affected, coupled with the relaxed and comfortable atmosphere at this time. And more importantly, the relieved mood. The group of people began to throw pillows playfully. And what Xiao Xiao had to do was to protect Yanran, so that the pillow would not hit her. And what Yi Xuanfei wanted to do was to deliberately hit Xiao Xiao with the pillow. In the midst of the laughter, the group of people fought together. Although Yanran was the same age as them, she was the most mature. At this time, she was the only one who thought of ordering. So she automatically took on this heavy responsibility. Xiao Xiao shouted directly, "Yanran, order whatever you want. Eat whatever you want." The corners of Yanran's eyes turned up, and the corners of her mouth curved. She knew that Xiao Xiao said this for her to hear. Every set of tableware on the table was quite exquisite. The heavy metal color looked particularly expensive under the light. Zhang Daong picked up a golden plate. It was so heavy that he thought he was picking up an inkstone. Damn, what is this made of? Is it pure gold? Wake up. The surface must be plated with a layer of gold. The inside is either iron or copper. Wang Jingyan shook up and down and said disapprovingly. The waiter next to him pursed his lips and smiled. He kindly explained, "This is gold-plated. All the materials here are made of metal, but in order to give the customers a better experience, we've uniformly plated a layer of gold powder." Zhang Daong patted his chest and said, "It's all right. If I accidentally broke it, I don't want Brother Qiao to go bankrupt." Yanran ordered 9 cold dishes and 10 hot dishes for them. Each of them had their favorite dishes. In the middle, a dragon boat made of seafood was served. The waiter pushed a cart into the restaurant, emitting a celestial aura. When Jing and Jiechi whispered, "Your waitresses are so beautiful. Their figures are first class." Yi Xuanfei snorted unhappily. "They're just so." When Jing and Jiechi looked at Yi Xuanfei carefully from head to toe, then gave her 2 thumbs up. "Sister, you're awesome. Especially your small waist. It's much prettier than other people's." Yi Xuanfei turned her head proudly, full of arrogance. Their table was full of 9 people. Xiao Xiao sat at the head of the table. His left was reserved for Yanran. Yi Xuanfei took the initiative to sit on his right. The others didn't care, and sat at the same table with laughter. Then Yi Xuanfei realized that something was wrong. Why was Xiao Zhao's chopsticks constantly picking food for Yanran? Yanran's small bowl was piled up like a small mountain. At the same time, Xiao Xiao asked for several other bowls and plates for Yanran. One was for soup, one was for dipping sauce, one was for dipping vinegar, and one was for adding a little chili. Xiao Zhao's mouth didn't stop. He kept saying to Yanran, "This is delicious. Try it. It's even more fragrant if you dip it in vinegar." He didn't touch the food in his bowl at all. He had been taking care of Yanran. The others were already used to it. Xiao Zhao's flattering face had become normal in their eyes. Yanran seemed to be used to it. She calmly ate whatever was served, and put aside whatever she didn't want to eat. Xiao Xiao watched as Yanran finished the food he had picked for her. He felt extremely satisfied. Lian Jiechi and Wen Jing were making a fuss. "Brother Qiao is biased. He doesn't pick food for us." Yi Xuanfei's bowl was empty. She thought that since Xiao Xiao picked food for Yanran, he would naturally pick food for her too. But after waiting for a long time, and staring until her eyes were sore, she still didn't see Xiao Xiao glance in her direction. Gradually, she couldn't stand it anymore. Her eyes were sore and her heart was sour. Her mouth felt like it was filled with vinegar, and the words that came out of her mouth were bitter. Just as Xiao Xiao was about to take a prawn and give it to Yanran, Yi Xuanfei picked it up with her chopsticks, and didn't let Xiao Xiao take it away. The two of them were at odds. "Xiao Xiao, you're really too biased. How can you not care about me at all?" Xiao Xiao pushed Yi Xuanfei's chopsticks away, and continued to pick a prawn. He didn't have time to care about Yi Xuanfei. "Why should I care about you? Aren't the others eating by themselves?" Yi Xuanfei couldn't take it anymore. "Then why are you trying so hard to pick food for Yanran? Yanran is my goddess. Don't you know? This is something that the whole school knows. Yi Xuanfei was immediately indignant when she heard this answer. She asked in exasperation, "Why is she your goddess? Why can't I be your goddess?" "Eldest miss, you may be someone else's goddess, but my goddess is only Yanran." With that, he put the prawn he had just plucked into the vinegar dish. Yi Xuanfei was speechless. She really didn't expect Xiao Xiao to have such a good relationship with Yanran. And from the looks of it, he didn't seem to be faking it. With Yanran's cold personality, how could she accept someone like Xiao Xiao? Ma Xiaoxian saw that the atmosphere was tense and immediately jumped out to say, "Beauty Yi, come here. I'll get food for you." With that, he picked up a lot of food and piled it into Yi Xuanfei's bowl. But Yi Xuanfei didn't appreciate it at all. She didn't want to eat at all. She just looked at Xiao Xiao and Yanran angrily. The more she looked at them, the angrier she got. They were so intimate. But this was all in Yi Xuanfei's imagination. Xiao Xiao and Yanran looked very normal when they were eating, except for Xiao Xiao, who was more proactive. But Yi Xuanfei's eyes seemed to have grown thorns, and there was a nail in her heart. It made her feel uncomfortable no matter how she looked at it. The jealousy in her heart grew crazily like weeds, slowly covering her original rationality. The other students ate heartily during the meal, and they kept praising the Michelin chef's reputation. In addition to the elegant environment and exquisite utensils, the most important thing was the taste of the dishes, which were excellent. Everyone was so full that they couldn't even walk. Only Yi Xuanfei was still hungry. She had eaten so much that she was full of anger. Chapter 145. By the time the dinner ended, it was already around 9 p.m. The dinner had lasted for a long time, so everyone went their separate ways. Yi Xuanfei pestered Xiao Xiao to send her home. Xiao Xiao had originally planned to send Yanran home, but since Yi Xuanfei was going with them, the three of them took a taxi together. Yanran didn't say much along the way. Instead, Yi Xuanfei kept pulling Xiao Xiao and chatting with him about everything. It was as if she had the upper hand and Xiao Xiao was hers. Xiao Xiao felt a little helpless. If he had known Yi Xuanfei was like this, he would have stayed away from her. Could it be that he owed her a favor, because they had read the ancient book together? Xiao Xiao touched his nose. That seemed to be the case. Thinking of this, he felt a little guilty. After all, he had secretly memorized her family heirloom. Sending her home could be considered as returning the favor. But when they arrived at Yi Xuanfei's house, Yi Xuanfei suddenly pestered Yanran and Xiao Xiao to go to her house. Yanran politely refused. Yi Xuanfei couldn't wait. She only hoped that Xiao Xiao would go home with her alone. But Xiao Xiao knew his limits. How could he go along with Yi Xuanfei's wishes? The moment Yanran said no, he immediately refused. A girl asking a boy to go to your house in the middle of the night. It won't be good if I say it out loud. For the sake of your reputation, I'll take my leave. Yi Xuanfei looked at Xiao Xiao walking away without any hesitation. She was so angry that she stomped her feet twice. When Xiao Xiao disappeared, she took a deep breath and was about to go upstairs. At this moment, a person walked out from the shadow of the corner. He had a square face, a tall and handsome figure. Yi Xuanfei took a look and saw that it was the male lead in the video, Huagang. Huagang stepped forward and smiled at Yi Xuanfei. He said straightforwardly, "Xiao Xiao refuses to go to your house. Can I go up and sit for a while?" Yi Xuanfei sized up Huagang and wondered why he was here. She said warily, "Why would a boy like you want to go to my house in the middle of the night? It's about Xiao Xiao and Yanran. Don't you want to hear about it?" Huagang wasn't worried that Yi Xuanfei would refuse. Sure enough, after 5 minutes, the two of them were sitting in the living room that Yi Xuanfei had meticulously decorated. As soon as Huagang entered the house, he felt that something was amiss. The whole house looked very clean, but it was also a little messy. In the corners or in the most careless places, there were always some unexpected obstacles. Huagang pondered seriously for a moment, and then a thought suddenly flashed through his mind. He looked at Yi Xuanfei. She was still wearing her school uniform, but she looked very sexy in it. However, it wasn't Huagang's cup of tea. At this moment, Yi Xuanfei's expression had returned to normal. There was a hint of arrogance in her eyes, which was completely different from the way she looked at Xiao Xiao. Hua Gang considered his words carefully. Is there a formation set up in this room? Yi Xuanfei didn't expect him to be able to tell at a glance. She didn't deny it. Yes, I know a little about it. Do you know about it too? I don't know much about it, but I've read about it before. You're from the Eastern aristocratic family, right? The Eastern aristocratic family is famous for their research on formations. Yi Xuanfei looked at Hua Gang and felt that he was quite smart. He was able to deduce the truth from some small details. She liked smart people like him. She restrained the arrogance on her face and took the initiative to ask the servants to serve Hua Gang a cup of tea. She poured a cup for herself and said to him, "Do you have a story you want to tell me?" Hua Gang picked up the tea and took a small sip. Don't be too disappointed if I tell you. Xiao Xiao and Yinran are a couple. Yi Xuanfei trembled in disbelief. She accidentally spilled the tea in her hand and scalded her fingers. Then she said firmly, "That's impossible. Their auras are completely incompatible." Other than Xiao Xiao taking the initiative, Yinran's cold personality wouldn't accept it at all. And Xiao Xiao is just like that. He's the same to everyone, especially girls. He likes to flirt. Yi Xuanfei couldn't help but defend Xiao Xiao. Yi Xuanfei turned the teacup in her hand. And isn't the video online of you and Yinran? Hua Gang wasn't in a hurry to speak. He took a sip of tea, leaned back on the sofa and laughed. They've been together for a long time. At first, I wanted to pursue Yinran, but Yinran didn't give me any chance at all. Later, Xiao Xiao got into trouble a few times, and it was Yinran who helped to solve it. I felt that something was wrong. Later, after the video of me and Yinran came out, Xiao Xiao and I fought. He clearly said that Yinran was his, so don't be wishful thinking. Impossible. Hearing this, Yi Xuanfei's pupils contracted slightly. Her long and curly eyelashes trembled slightly. She murmured and shook her head. You lied to me. Whether I lied to you or not, time will prove everything. I came to you today for another matter. Yi Xuanfei was in an extremely bad mood. She said in an unfriendly tone. What else? If there's nothing else, you can leave. I want to join the Eastern aristocratic family. Why? Aren't you in the Southern aristocratic family? I won't have a future in the Southern aristocratic family. As soon as the video was released online, I knew that Yinran and I would definitely be scapegoats. I won't be able to make a name for myself in the Southern aristocratic family. I'm about to reach Zixuan's level. I wonder if the Eastern aristocratic family needs a talent like me? Yi Xuanfei gradually calmed down. She woke up from the shock that Xiao Xiao and Yinran had given her. There was still work to be done. She couldn't delay her grandfather's important matters. Yi Xuanfei didn't say anything. She held the tea and sipped it. She ignored Hua Gang like this. This was also a psychological battle between the two of them. Hua Gang sat on the sofa as steadily as Mount Tai. He looked at Yi Xuanfei indifferently and took a sip of tea from time to time. It was as if this was just a normal conversation, and he wasn't nervous at all. Yi Xuanfei had already thought it through. It seemed that their failure last time, and the video she had taken had a great impact on Yinran. Then tell me, how did you become scapegoats in the Southern aristocratic family? Yi Xuanfei needed to know about Yinran's recent situation. Last time, we originally accepted a mission to destroy the underground vault. The location was right. It was at the lowest level of the Golden Years. But in the process of carrying out the mission, we met an expert. He set up a formation so that we couldn't escape from it. Later on, Yinran blew up the entire formation, but the entire underground vault was buried. Because of this, Yinran was locked up in the punishment hall for 3 days. After she came out, she was badly injured. At the same time, our entire team was punished. Yinran was even demoted by 1 level. Yi Xuanfei didn't expect so many things to happen after that. The most important person in the Southern aristocratic family was Yinran. She didn't expect that she would be halfway to success. She made the entire Southern aristocratic family disappointed in Yinran. This was the first step. In the battle between the Eastern and Southern aristocratic families, Yinran would definitely have to pay a corresponding price. Then Yinran wouldn't be a threat. Yi Xuanfei also sat up straight and leaned back in her chair. At this time, she started to act businesslike. It's not impossible for you to join the Eastern aristocratic family, but you have to give me a satisfactory proof of your loyalty. Huagang smiled sinisterly. I've already thought about this. I just revealed some information about us to you. If you are willing to accept me, I'm willing to be a spy for the Southern aristocratic family. How about that? Huagang threw out this big bait. Yi Xuanfei's eyes lit up. The light in her eyes pleased Huagang. He knew that he had succeeded. Then he heard Yi Xuanfei ask solemnly, "Then what other requests do you have?" "I only have one request. I want Yinran." Huagang answered firmly. Yi Xuanfei smiled with satisfaction. "Yinran is yours. Xiao Xiao is mine. We have the same goal. I welcome you to join the Eastern aristocratic family." After the small college entrance examination, they went to school for a few days before the end of their second year of high school. Time was always like the most regular child. It didn't matter if you kept up with it or not. It was always running forward. Maturity accompanied the most important 3 years of high school. Now that more than half of it had passed, after all the complicated work was done, this group of second-year students was about to enter the summer vacation. Other than Xiao Xiao and Yinran, the rest of the students had to go to school for the entire summer vacation. The 2 months of vacation added up to less than a week. As for Xiao Xiao and Yinran, because they were taking the path of independent enrollment, it was equivalent to their high school life ending early. Even the teacher suggested the two of them, "Can you go home now to prepare the materials? Then do some social practice. If there's nothing important, don't come to school to disturb other students." Xiao Xiao and Yinran looked at each other. Their high school life ended early? Under the reluctant gazes of Zhang Daong and the rest, Xiao Xiao treated them to milk tea one last time, and promised that they would meet again after the college entrance examination. "Do well. We'll be classmates in university." Zhang Daong and the rest were reluctant to part. They sent Xiao Xiao and Yinran to the school gate. Then Xiao Xiao gave everyone a big hug. Zhang Daong hugged him and cried like a child. Ma Xiaoxian quickly pulled him away. "What are you doing? It's not like you're going to die. Why are you crying so miserably?" "I'm crying. It's been 2 years, and I finally got to hug my Prince Charming." A few people looked at him speechlessly as they watched Xiao Xiao leave. Then on the school's Tieba forum, a picture of Xiao Xiao leaving the school was posted. The 9-square grid was still as handsome as ever, but there were a few more students with red eyes next to him. The forum was filled with cries. "Dumplings gluten bun. The school hunk actually graduated early. Sob 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 sob. I'm so sad. Waves with you, brother Qiao. Don't forget that we're waiting for you in university. Jiuqi, we'll always be your fans, brother Qiao. You have to be on the headlines of Weibo often, so that we can see you." Sand eagle crossing the river. "I'm going to eat 3 bowls of rice tonight to calm my sadness." Walking snow. "My ghost hand can no longer be used. I'm so sad." Pandora's box. "I have a lot of brother Qiao's handsome face in stock. When you guys really miss brother Qiao, I can release them." Big frog at the bottom of the pit. "I have to release them every day. Life without brother Qiao is worse than death." Just like that, Xiao Xiao and Yinran ended their colorful and rhythmic high school life amidst the pity of countless people. Chapter 146. When Xiao Xiao left the school, Yi Xuanfei was in class. She didn't know what was going on in the class next door. When she saw that Xiao Xiao was no longer in school, her heart ached. Didn't she transfer schools because of Xiao Xiao and Yinran? What was going on? The two of them were no longer in school. What was the point of her coming over? It seemed that there was a change in the plan. She had to inform Grandpa to help her transfer back. However, even if she was no longer in Nanchuan, she would still have the opportunity to interact with Xiao Xiao. The most important thing this summer vacation was waiting for her and Xiao Xiao to complete together. It was the National Hip Hop Finals. She and Xiao Xiao had successfully advanced. Yi Xuanfei also told Xiao Xiao that the finals would be held in the busiest city in the Eastern District, Huanghai City. Before transferring back to the Eastern District, Yi Xuanfei didn't care at all. What else did she have to learn during the summer vacation? It was too much of a waste of her good years. Hence, she took 2 months of sick leave from the school and prepared everything. She flew to Huanghai City with Xiao Xiao to participate in the finals. Huanghai City was the most prosperous city in the country. Its GDP was ranked first in the country, and it was also an international financial center. The country's various support policies were biased towards them, and all the pilot projects prioritized Huanghai City. In such an environment, the Eastern District and the Southern District naturally formed a competitive situation. This was also the reason why Old Master Yi felt that he had the ability to compete with Old Master Yan. It was also because of this that Yi Xuanfei usually had a sense of superiority. She invited Xiao Xiao to her house, so that Xiao Xiao could see the strength of her hometown. Huanghai City was a bustling modern city. Everything could dazzle outsiders. Yi Xuanfei hoped that Xiao Xiao would fall in love with Huanghai City and be amazed by her family's background. She also hoped that he could personally feel her excellence and like her. Boys always wanted to find someone who could help their career as their other half. There was no doubt that Huanghai was a better place to start a business. Yi Xuanfei analyzed the situation carefully. Yanran was an outstanding member of the southern aristocratic families. She was the most outstanding girl in the southern region. It was understandable that Xiao Xiao liked her. But the situation in the cultivation world was so complicated now. Yi Xuanfei was confident that her grandfather would succeed. Then Yanran would naturally be the sacrifice in the battle between the two factions. If Yanran had declined, then she would naturally become Xiao Zhao's #1 target. The corners of Yi Xuanfei's lips curled up involuntarily. In her mind, the image of that alluring face, that perfect figure, and that alluring voice appeared. Everything was like magic, sucking her in and making her unable to extricate herself. She had to take advantage of the hip-hop competition to get along well with Xiao Xiao and make him like her. Yi Xuanfei never wanted superficial things. She wanted Xiao Zhao's soul. In the coffee shop in front of Yanran's house, Xiao Xiao asked Yanran out with great difficulty. The two of them prepared for dinner together. Xiao Xiao realized that Yanran was busy again. Could it be that she had started to carry out missions again? Xiao Xiao was very unhappy. He didn't like Yanran risking her life. But Yanran's mind was firm. She wasn't affected by Xiao Xiao at all. She only told him that she would protect herself, and then disappeared. There was no sound or image from her for a few days. Xiao Xiao felt like a cat was scratching his heart. He had no choice but to think of ways to cultivate to pass the time. Today, after Yanran finished a mission, she finally had time to agree to have dinner with Xiao Xiao. But she still had to go out early in the morning and do some homework at night. For convenience, the two of them had to meet at the coffee shop in front of Yanran's house. Xiao Xiao hadn't seen her for a long time. He really wanted to hug her and kiss her if possible. This idea had been in Xiao Zhao's mind for a long time, but he hadn't found a chance to carry it out. However, he was also worried that Yanran wouldn't agree. "Sai, let's think about it at length." He was satisfied when he saw Yanran. "Yanran, is your mission dangerous this time? You have to be careful. I don't want you to suffer like last time. Can I help you? Anyway, I have nothing to do at home. Why don't you bring me along?" Xiao Xiao wanted to stick together with Yanran. "How can I bring you along when I go on a mission? You're not part of our organization. Have you forgotten the demonic aura on your body? If you're not careful and others see through it, won't you be treated as a mole in our cultivation world and be removed?" Yanran sighed. She knew that Xiao Xiao had a clingy personality, so she directly refused. Xiao Xiao thought about it and agreed. It seemed like he was born to be hated by others. He shrunk his neck. When he thought about how many cultivators would surround and attack him, he wished he could turn into an earthworm and burrow into the ground, never to be seen again. "Then you have to be careful. I have to go to Huanghai to participate in the street dance competition. I won't be able to take care of you. You have to take good care of yourself. When I come back, I want to see you in perfect condition." Xiao Xiao continued to ramble. It wasn't easy to see Yanran. Xiao Xiao simply couldn't bear to let her go. He looked at the Yanran today. In his eyes, she was especially beautiful. He mustered up his courage and said, "Let's go on a date tonight." Yanran was stunned. She raised her head and looked at him. The little white bun on her head suddenly shyly covered her eyes. Xiao Xiao saw that Yinran misunderstood. Ah, I'm not talking about that date. I'm asking if we can go watch a movie tonight. After saying that, he took a deep breath. It was as if he had said a secret that he had hidden in his heart. Seeing Xiao Xiao's rare nervous appearance, Yinran suddenly felt a little apologetic. She was usually too busy, and simply didn't have time to accompany him. In fact, she also missed him a lot. Thus, she slightly nodded her head without leaving a trace. Xiao Xiao was blinded by this slight nod. The joy in his eyes lit up the entire cafe. Even the people in the booth felt this handsome young man's excitement. Be quiet. Don't be so happy. People around us are looking at you. Yinran hurriedly stopped him, and prepared to jump up and down. Yinran, I'm just too happy. I'll take you to see a good film. It's just been released recently. You'll definitely like it. It's a romantic film. I heard that there are tears and laughter. It's very touching and incomparably sweet. It's just right for our current mood. In this way, Yinran was pulled away by Xiao Xiao. When they arrived at the cinema, she saw Xiao Xiao's figure going to buy the tickets. She felt strange. Why don't you buy it directly on your phone? Xiao Xiao blinked and said innocently, I can't buy so many tickets on my phone. Yinran was confused. Why do we need to buy so many tickets? Xiao Xiao blinked and didn't give her an answer. After buying the tickets, he went to buy 2 sets of popcorn and cola, 1 set for each of them, and walked into the screening room. After entering, Yinran found that Xiao Xiao had bought a couple's booth in the last row. It was a sofa for 2 people. There was no partition in the middle, so it was quite comfortable to sit on. Yinran was a little nervous for no reason. It was her first time watching a movie with a boy. In such a dark cinema, it was even a sofa for 2 people. Not only her, but Xiao Xiao's heart almost jumped to his throat. He took the initiative and bought all the seats in the last 2 rows. He didn't dare to tell Yinran, for fear of being scolded. He now respected and loved Yinran. He was afraid that he would be criticized by Yinran. However, he also had a little evil intention. In this dim light, he thought that he could do something. He forcefully pulled Yinran to sit down and muttered to himself, Why are there so few people watching this movie? After a while, some people finally came and took up most of the seats in the first few rows. However, no one came to sit in the last 2 rows. Yinran suddenly turned her head to look at Xiao Xiao's handsome side profile and asked him, Did you buy the tickets in the last 2 rows? At that moment, Xiao Xiao's eloquent mouth was like a clamp that choked his throat. He coughed violently a few times. In front of Yinran, he didn't have the ability to lie at all. However, because the dark light covered his blushing cheeks, he could only stammer, I was afraid that someone would block us or disturb us by talking. Yinran looked at him deeply and didn't say anything. However, Xiao Xiao knew that he had passed this test. He suddenly felt relieved. It seemed that Yinran also agreed with him. The ecstasy in his heart drowned out his reason. He grabbed Yinran's little hand and said to her coquettishly, Yinran, this is the first time I'm watching a movie with a girl. I'm a little nervous. Don't laugh at me. Yinran looked at Xiao Xiao's cute appearance and retracted her stern face. She burst out laughing. Why are you so nervous? Xiao Xiao's feelings for her were like a piece of white paper. On it, he used colorful brushes to draw all kinds of hearts, all kinds of ribbons, all kinds of fireworks. As long as it was colorful, it was Xiao Xiao's love for her. The 2 stopped talking and began to watch the movie. It was a moving romance film. The male and female lead started out because of some misunderstanding. The 2 of them saw each other as enemies. Later on, because of some things, they attracted each other and became good friends. In the process of going through hardships together, they gradually developed feelings for each other and finally became a couple. Xiao Xiao and Yinran were still eating popcorn, but gradually, they were attracted by the plot and gradually stopped what they were doing. The movie seemed to be about the 2 of them, from disliking each other to knowing each other and loving each other. Xiao Xiao's hand gradually tightened around Yinran's hand. The 2 of them got closer and closer, shoulder to shoulder, head to head. A kind of emotion faintly flowed between the 2 of them. When the 2 of them on the screen finally hugged and kissed each other, Xiao Xiao's hand suddenly tightened. He turned to look at Yinran. the starlight in his eyes like a sea of stars. Yanran looked at him just like that. Her clear eyes were filled with love, as though they could see through his soul. Their gazes were glued together like an invisible line, slowly pulling the two of them together. Chapter 147. The dim reflection of the big screen made Xiao Zhao's chest swell, as if there was a courage supporting him. There was only one thought in his mind, and then he asked softly, "Yanran, can I kiss you?" Yanran did not answer. She just looked at the hazy and timid young man in the dark. His respect for her had reached the extreme. Didn't she also like this perfect young man, who seemed to come from the Milky Way? Xiao Xiao saw that Yanran did not answer, and thought that she did not agree. At this time, the impulse in his heart had made his mouth dry and his head dizzy. He stuck out his tongue and licked his lips. Just as he was about to turn his head and digest the emotions he had just experienced, Yanran pulled the clothes on his chest and kissed him directly with her rose petal-like red lips. Xiao Xiao instantly ignited the fireworks in his head. His mind was blank, and even for a second, he did not know where to put his hands and feet. But it was also in the next second that a man's instinct allowed him to quickly take the initiative. His heart was ecstatic, and he no longer hid his love. He dedicated all the beauty of his lips and tongue. The two kissed until the sky turned dark. It was no longer important what was on the screen. The lines and background music had become notes to accompany them. The two were lying down in the booth. Yanran had long known about Xiao Zhao's passion, but Xiao Xiao was too crazy in the kiss. Xiao Xiao did not expect that the usually cold Yanran would have such a passionate side. Her small lips and small lilac tongue would make him crazy and lose his mind. The two of them did not know how to breathe well, and after a while, their faces were red. Xiao Xiao moved away slightly. Yanran thought that was the end, but she did not expect an even crazier kiss to come. Were all the people in the devil realm so crazy? Yanran's small rejection did not have any effect at all, so she simply let go of herself to respond. The scent of lavender enveloped Xiao Zhao's entire head. His head became more and more dizzy. He was even stimulated to release traces of devil qi, making his kiss even more enticing. He wanted the girl he liked to experience the ultimate happiness in this world. Yanran didn't know how long they had been kissing. Time had stopped, and the space had been isolated. Yanran felt that her whole body was sinking into the sofa, and Xiao Xiao was still on top of her. It was as if she had also gone crazy and been possessed. When the lights in the theater lit up, the two of them seemed to have returned to reality from an illusory time and space. Xiao Xiao sprung up from his seat. However, he used too much force and did not control the angle well. He hit the back of the seat in front of him and rolled under the seat. The audience, who were dispersing one after another, was intrigued by this muffled sound. Their eyes all drifted towards the source of the sound. Yanran also immediately sat up the moment Xiao Xiao sprung up. Everyone only saw the outline of a girl, sitting in the middle of the last row. Other than the fact that her hair seemed to be disheveled, there was nothing unusual about her. Yanran, however, felt as if a small 1,000-watt sun was sweeping towards her. At this time, the light in the theater was not too bright, but it was many times brighter than before. Yanran had never been so nervous. At this time, her back was straight, her eyes were looking straight ahead, her fists were clenched at her side, and one of her feet was firmly stepping on Xiao Xiao, who was trying to climb up from under the seat. Xiao Xiao no longer struggled. He simply shrank under the seat and did not move. When the crowd had all left, and only the two of them and the sweeping auntie were left in the theater, Yanran's wildly beating heart calmed down slightly. She retracted her foot and released Xiao Zhao's freedom. Xiao Xiao simply squatted by Yanran's feet. He rested his chin on her knee, curled up his body, and looked up at Yanran in amusement. "Hey, the theater is over. What are you two doing there?" The sweeping auntie's voice sounded. Xiao Xiao and Yanran recovered from this strange atmosphere. Xiao Xiao pulled Yanran with one hand, and the two of them walked out of the theater. The light outside and the lights in the theater formed a strong contrast. It was as if everything had returned to the sunlight. At this time, Xiao Xiao noticed that Yanran's braids had long been messed up. Her lips were red and swollen, her face was slightly red, and her eyes were sparkling. Her gaze was like a peach blossom in full bloom. Xiao Xiao wasn't any better at the moment. In Yanran's eyes, Xiao Xiao's originally neat and handsome short hair seemed to have been crumpled into a chicken's nest by herself. Her peach-pink lips had become bright red at this time, as if there was a small wound that had been bitten open and was bleeding. And the originally deep gaze was now even more moving. It was as if there were 10,000 kinds of flirtatious feelings in it. With a blink of an eye, it was a kind of romantic. Yanran's heart seemed to skip a beat. This evildoer seemed to have been blessed by someone, and it seemed that the person who blessed him was herself. Yanran's originally red face became even redder, and Xiao Xiao looked at Yanran as if he was possessed. The more he looked, the more he liked her. This was his future crown princess. The two of them did not speak. You look at me, I look at you. Hand in hand, they walked in the mall. When they passed by an enormous mirror, Yanran saw herself in it. Yanran, who was always as calm as water, could not help but cry out. Then she said to Xiao Xiao, "I'm going to the washroom." Before Xiao Xiao could reply, she disappeared in the blink of an eye, and Xiao Xiao turned his gaze to the mirror. When he saw his hairstyle that was like a chicken's nest and his wrinkled shirt that made people's hair stand up, he also quickly rushed to the washroom. The two of them did not have any creativity for the rest of the day. They just held hands and walked in a small park. But even such a simple walk on the road gave the two of them a different feeling. The touch between their hands became abnormally sensitive. Every unconscious bump between their arms seemed to become intentional. As the night fell, between the mottled shadows of the trees, their shadows were infinitely elongated by the street lights. From the original arm's width, they slowly overlapped until there was no gap between them. Xiao Xiao finally understood why couples on the roadside were always so lovey-dovey. Right now, he also wished that he could tie Yanran to his belt and hold her in his heart. Every touch between the two of them made his heart beat faster. "Yanran, I'm going to Huanghai in a few days." "Okay. What about you?" "I'm leaving early tomorrow morning to chase after the mastermind behind the previous mission." Xiao Xiao froze. "You're not done with the previous incident?" "I wanted to chase after him myself. There has to be an explanation." "Then aren't you going to be alone?" Xiao Xiao immediately became anxious. "That person is quite powerful. Last time we suffered because of the formation. Because of that, this person is very dangerous. We can't let him go." "Then do you know about formations?" "I don't know, but I can use my spiritual power to blow it up." "No, you can't blow it up most of the time. Just like last time. Didn't I cause you a lot of trouble? Do you want to repeat the same mistake? There will always be a way. You have to believe me. I'm very powerful." Yanran raised her head and looked into Xiao Xiao's eyes confidently. Xiao Xiao automatically surrendered when he met her eyes. He pulled Yanran's head into his arms and sighed. "You're so headstrong. I'm really worried." He took out the necklace on his chest and handed it to Yanran. "The totem in this gem can break any formation in the world. It's a treasure of the demon world. I don't know why, but I have one here and Yi Xuanfei has one. It's said that mine is male and hers is female, so her formation should listen to the command of this one. Yanran, you must take it with you. If you encounter any danger, think of a way to break the formation or set it up. This doesn't require spiritual power, only incantations." Yanran was surprised. There was actually such a treasure. Yi Xuanfei actually had one too. Yi Xuanfei's gem is the one on her belly button? "Yes, I saw it at first glance." "What a coincidence. You and her are male and female?" Yanran narrowed her eyes and her tone became dangerous. Xiao Xiao immediately raised his right hand and swore. "It really has nothing to do with me. When I first saw it, I thought she stole it from our family." With that, he hugged Yanran's waist and swayed left and right coquettishly. "Good Yanran, you still don't believe me? My mind is filled with you. Other women will always be a wisp of spiritual energy in my circle of friends." Yanran was very satisfied with this answer. Xiao Xiao's rustic words of love were still very pleasing to her heart. "Come, I'll teach you how to use this totem." The two of them simply went to the back of the mountain together. Xiao Xiao seriously taught Yanran the incantation to use the totem. The totem was also very magical. As Xiao Zhao's thoughts turned, the golden totem automatically displayed the formation's image. Ever since the demon sky formation was repaired last time, Xiao Zhao took advantage of the time to cultivate to master the formation. The more he cultivated, the more he felt that the formation was magical. The hundreds of changes in the formation in the world were all concentrated in this totem. Mastering one would lead to all the other things. Xiao Zhao used 3 nights to master the entire formation. Only after he taught it to Yanran did he realize that his teacher Yanran's learning ability was simply heaven-defying and terrifying. He only needed to demonstrate all the changes once, and Yanran could immediately grasp it. Moreover, she at least learned half of it. As for those strange incantations, if it weren't for the little tadpoles helping him remember them, he probably wouldn't have been able to get around them. And Yanran was like the ancestor of the little tadpoles. As long as Xiao Zhao said it once, she would immediately remember it. Moreover, she could even tell Xiao Zhao the meaning of the incantation. It turned out that the hibiscus book she cultivated also had such words. It seemed that they were all treasures of the demon realm. Mastering one would lead to all the other things. He now worshipped Yanran wholeheartedly. The difference between a bad student and a top student was so obvious. Xiao Zhao's heart was filled with joy. He couldn't wait to announce to the world that this was his future crown prince consort. In one night, amidst the overlapping shadows of the back mountain, there was no ambiguity or whispering sweet nothings. There was only a handsome man and a beautiful woman who were constantly cultivating. Until dawn, Yanran finally finished learning all the formations. Xiao Zhao solemnly hung the necklace on Yanran's chest. Yanran, I know you have your mission. You are also willing to bear this. I won't break your wings, but when you spread your wings and fly high, I will be your strong shield. So protect yourself well. Remember that there is always a Xiao Zhao waiting for you. Chapter 148. The next day Yanran, who had cultivated for an entire night, carried Xiao Zhao's concern for her. With a totem necklace around her neck, she embarked on the journey to hunt down the mastermind behind the vault. After resting for a few days, Xiao Zhao, who missed Yanran and was worried about her, boarded the flight to Huanghai with Yi Xuanfei. The two of them sat in the comfortable and luxurious first-class cabin. Yi Xuanfei was dressed to the nines today, fully displaying her charm and seductiveness. It was summer, so the places that should be exposed were all exposed, while the places that shouldn't be exposed were faintly discernible. The passengers waiting at the airport couldn't help but look at her body. Many of them even took out their phones to take a few photos of this star-like beauty. Xiao Zhao couldn't help but be stunned when he saw her at the airport. Yi Xuanfei was very satisfied with Xiao Zhao's casual expression. However, Xiao Zhao wasn't in the mood to dress up. Ever since Yanran left, he had been listless, as if half of his life had been taken away. He was originally full of anticipation for the hip-hop competition, but now he felt that it was a mission that he had to complete. He felt that Yanran had cast a spell on him. In his dreams at night, he would always think of the kiss between him and Yanran. At this time, he would always scold himself for being a hooligan. Yanran was right. His mind was full of unhealthy thoughts. Later on, when he couldn't sleep, he started to cultivate. During this period of time, because he cultivated very frequently, he felt that he was on the verge of a breakthrough again. On the day he arrived at the airport, he woke up in the middle of the night and cultivated until morning. He remembered that he was about to fly to Huanghai today. He brushed his teeth, washed his face, ate breakfast, put on a baseball cap, sunglasses, a mask, picked up a light bag, stuffed a few clothes into it, and went to the airport. But in Yi Xuanfei's eyes, Xiao Zhao, who was casually dressed, was still a dazzling existence. Under the mask, the beautiful curve of his chin and neck, his perfectly shaped earlobes, his Adam's apple that moved up and down as he spoke, and his walking model posture, all of them provoked Yi Xuanfei's nerves. In her eyes, Xiao Zhao was like a perfect young man who had fallen from the sky. During this period of time, Xiao Zhao belonged to her alone. Along the way, Yi Xuanfei seemed to have been reborn. She chattered nonstop with Xiao Zhao. Xiao Zhao directly covered his face with the cap and reclined his chair at an angle where he could almost sleep. Then he began to snore. Yi Xuanfei looked at Xiao Zhao's long legs, which were casually stretched out on the seat beside her. He was tall and slender, just like a carefree teenager in a comic, lying on the green grass with her and thinking about the future together. The noise on the plane was like music to Yi Xuanfei's ears. As long as Xiao Xiao was by her side, no matter what state he was in, she was willing to take care of him. Just like that, Yi Xuanfei stared at Xiao Xiao all the way, and Xiao Xiao slept all the way. When the plane landed, Xiao Xiao woke up. He took off his baseball cap and was shocked to see a beautiful face magnified in front of him with sleepy eyes. "What are you doing? Why are you so close to me?" Yi Xuanfei smiled shyly. "Xiao Xiao, you're too good-looking." Oh no, another love-struck fool. But Xiao Xiao was already very used to such love-struck girls. "Now you know how handsome your brother Xiao is, right? Remember, the Prince Charming should be looked up to. Keep a distance." Everything Xiao Xiao said was right. Yi Xuanfei nodded obediently. She didn't care about what Xiao Xiao said at all. She couldn't wait to hang herself on him. How could she keep a distance? Xiao Xiao didn't care about her anymore. He packed his things and prepared to get off the plane. He booked a hotel next to the hip-hop competition venue. But Yi Xuanfei said to him, "It's not convenient to stay in a hotel. You can stay at my place." "That won't do. I just said to keep a distance. I'll leave first. Bye." After speaking, Xiao Xiao didn't care about Yi Xuanfei, who was shouting and stomping her feet behind him. He directly called a taxi and left. The driver who came to pick up eldest Miss Yi was shocked when he saw the angry Yi Xuanfei. "Which bastard dared to make our eldest Miss Yi angry? Eldest Miss, tell me. I'll help you teach him a lesson." When Yi Xuanfei heard this, her eyebrows furrowed. "You're the bastard. Your whole family is bastards." After speaking, she got into the car angrily and went home. Xiao Xiao remembered Yinran's teachings. The other girls were just a wisp of spiritual energy in his circle of friends. He couldn't let Yinran misunderstand. In the end, he posted on his circle of friends, telling everyone that he had arrived in Huanghai. After waiting for a long time, he didn't receive a reply from Yinran. He could only rub his nose and return to the hotel first. Huanghai City was indeed a bustling metropolis. It took nearly 2 hours to drive from the airport to the city center. Along the way, Xiao Xiao didn't find it boring. There were rows upon rows of buildings on both sides of the road. He couldn't tell whether it was the suburbs or the city center. It seemed that the city had expanded the area around the airport. Xiao Xiao also noticed that there were many signs for the subway at the bottom of the highway. It seemed that he could reach the city center by taking the subway without taking the highway. With the passage of the subway, it was no wonder that there were so many residential buildings and commercial centers around the airport. It was indeed bustling and popular. It was much more prosperous than Nanchuan City where Xiao Xiao lived. The driver in the car was very talkative. He spoke Mandarin with the Huanghai dialect. Xiao Xiao didn't understand half of it. The driver spoke very quickly. He was desperately introducing Xiao Xiao to the delicious food, fun places, and tourist attractions in Huanghai. Later, he even gave Xiao Xiao a business card and said to him, "As long as you go to these tourist attractions or hotels, you can give my business card to them. They will give you a 20% discount." Haha, it seems that this tourist city won't run away. Everyone is marketing it. Even the taxi drivers can solicit customers. Just like that, under the chauffeur's guidance, Xiao Xiao sent Xiao Xiao to the designated hotel. Then, she politely escorted him into the lobby and said to the lady at the front desk, "This is the guest I introduced. Remember it for me." Xiao Xiao was really embarrassed to say that he booked it online. The taxi drivers in Shanghai were really too enthusiastic. Not long after he checked in, Xiao Xiao had just finished washing up when he heard a knock on the door. Xiao Xiao was wearing a bathrobe. His hair was still wet as he went to open the door. But he didn't expect to see a warm and fragrant woman in his arms. Xiao Xiao instinctively moved to the side, allowing the young woman's fragrant body to rush in. When he saw who it was, Xiao Xiao had a headache. They hadn't even separated for 2 minutes. Why was she here again? He really shouldn't have told her which hotel it was. How could the hotel casually reveal the privacy of its customers? Yi Xuanfei's sneak attack failed. She twisted her waist and sat down on the sofa. She leaned against the armrest and tried her best to show her exquisite curves. She smiled and looked at Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao was also speechless. He couldn't say anything. He closed the door, poured a glass of water, and sat down beside the sofa. Didn't I say to keep a distance? Why are you here again? Yi Xuanfei acted coquettishly. She stood up and sat on the armrest beside Xiao Xiao's sofa. She bent down and showed her deep cleavage in front of Xiao Xiao. Brother Xiao, don't reject me. Her voice reverberated a few times. It was like a sandalwood fragrance floating in the air. It drilled into Xiao Xiao's ears. The strong scent of perfume also followed, swirling around Xiao Xiao. F***ck seduction. It was a pity that Yi Xuanfei had found the wrong person. He was already tired of this playboy's tricks. He pressed the teacup in his hand against Yi Xuanfei's red lips. I said to keep a distance. If not, please go ahead. Yi Xuanfei wasn't angry. She returned to the sofa and sat down. Brother Qiao, it's rare for you to come to Huanghai. I'm the owner here, so of course I have to be the host. I'm just here to accompany you. I'm tired today. I don't want to go shopping. Let's talk about it tomorrow. Xiao Xiao rejected her directly. He missed the scent of lavender. The strong perfume tickled his nose. Yi Xuanfei's eyes lit up. How are you tired? Let me give you a massage. With that said, she came over to touch him. Xiao Xiao felt as though his and Yinran's roles had been reversed. Miss Yi, sit properly. If not, please turn 30 meters to the left and open the door. Walk out and close the door. Thank you. Yi Xuanfei was extremely unhappy with the repeated rejections. She pouted and complained to Xiao Xiao coquettishly. Brother Qiao, do you not like me accompanying you? Xiao Xiao really wanted to say that she was speaking the truth. But this wasn't his style. It was better not to provoke Zixuan. We're just ordinary friends. You see, girls should be more reserved and wear more clothes. Aren't you afraid that others will take advantage of you? Xiao Xiao pretended to persuade her earnestly. Yi Xuanfei was even more pleased when she heard this. It seemed that Xiao Xiao was still very concerned about her clothes. Brother Qiao, I want to show my best side to you. Don't I look good? With that said, she threw a flirtatious glance at Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao felt a chill run down his spine. His Yinran was still the best. She was pure yet charming, cold yet enchanting. Yinran was like a snow lotus that bloomed alone in the cold. On the other hand, Yi Xuanfei was like a rich official's daughter in the city. She was vulgar and superficial. But now, this rich official's daughter was clinging onto him like a dog's skin plaster. He couldn't tear her off, and he couldn't offend her either. This really gave Xiao Xiao a headache. I want to sleep for a while. I'll look for you at night. Xiao Xiao yawned. It was obvious that he was just brushing her off. Yi Xuanfei couldn't help but feel discouraged. Previously, Xiao Xiao was still very warm towards her in Nanchuan. Could it be that the ancient books at home couldn't attract him, and had disappointed him? She rolled her eyes. Brother Qiao, I still have a lot of good ancient books at home. When are you free? I'll bring you to take a look. It's a huge library. I'm sure you'll like it. Xiao Xiao wanted to reject her, but Kong Xiaoming immediately reminded him. This is a good opportunity. You must seize it. Xiao Xiao thought about it and agreed. All right. I'll go take a look after the dance competition. Then, let's have dinner together tonight. All right, it's my treat. He had taken their things, and he had to return the favor. Chapter 149. Night came silently, gently hugging Huanghai in its arms. The city at night was even more colorful under the contrast of the neon lights. At the entrance of Qiao Zhao's hotel, the musical fountain in the middle of the square spewed out a water column that rose and fell according to the rhythm of the music. The water splashed into the circular pool. Every night at 8 p.m., there would be an hour-long water screen movie. When Xiao Xiao and Yi Xuanfei went out for dinner, it was only 7 p.m. A group of people had already gathered at the entrance to watch the water screen movie. Even the summer heat couldn't stop their enthusiasm for playing. The two of them got into the car. Yi Xuanfei said that she wanted to bring Xiao Xiao to a good place. The car drove all the way up the highway. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but sigh at the prosperity of the city. The crisscrossing transportation facilities formed the backbone of the city, pushing Huanghai City to take large strides towards an ultramodern city. The car slowly drove into a commercial area. There were even more people here, and a long line of cars had already formed. Xiao Xiao and Yi Xuanfei simply got out of the car and walked. After walking for a short distance, they entered a bustling pedestrian street. There were many lights in the bushes on both sides. With every step they took, they would see a yellow-green neon light, illuminating the bushes like elves in the night. The lights of the musical fountain were even more dazzling. The water column danced up and down. The lights rose and fell one after another. The water droplets splashed everywhere, dancing like dragons and phoenixes. Sometimes there would even be a mist, reflecting dazzling lights. The street lamps by the roadside were strangely shaped. Some were like lantern bearers, while others were like craftsmen wearing bamboo hats. It was as if they were holding stars, illuminating the path for pedestrians. Yi Xuanfei and Xiao Xiao strolled along the street. They couldn't help but relax. Yi Xuanfei walked closer and closer to Xiao Xiao, using the excuse of avoiding pedestrians to constantly touch Xiao Xiao's arm. Xiao Xiao kept complaining in his heart. He wished he could wrap himself in a layer of devil qi and write, "Strangers do not come near," so that anyone who touched him would be blasted away. Finally, they arrived at the entrance of a high-end hotel. Xiao Xiao looked up and assessed the place. He couldn't see the top of the building at a glance. It was probably more than 100 floors high. A row of waiters in suits on a hot day stood at the entrance, which was half air-conditioned and half heat-wave, welcoming guests. Seeing Yi Xuanfei and Xiao Xiao approaching, a person who looked like a manager hurried over. "Miss Yi, your private room has been arranged. Please take the elevator up with the VIP guests." At this moment, Yi Xuanfei seemed to have changed into a different person. She put away the bright smile on her face and put on an arrogant and cold expression. She nodded, then turned her head and put on a smile again. She was about to take Xiao Xiao's arm. Xiao Xiao moved to the side and used his eyes to stop Yi Xuanfei's actions. He put his hands in his trouser pockets and strode forward with his long legs, following the manager in large strides. The eyes of the other ushers were about to fall out. When had they ever seen eldest young Miss Yi being humiliated by others? She even looked like she was enjoying it. They looked at the young man in front of them and were dumbfounded. This was a new celebrity. He had a strong aura and was the center of attention wherever he went. Xiao Xiao didn't seem to mind at all. She had a faint smile on her face, looking lazy and at ease. It was probably because she was used to being stared at. The manager was also stunned. But after all, he had seen a lot of the world. He quickly led the way and brought the two of them upstairs. Yi Xuanfei looked at Xiao Xiao's slender back view and couldn't get angry. This person was just like her. She obediently followed behind and walked into the elevator with the attitude of a little woman. From the looks of it, the restaurant in this hotel should be a top-notch restaurant in Huanghai City. The restaurant's concealment was excellent, and it led directly to the private room through the elevator. As soon as the elevator door opened, a spacious private room, surrounded by semicircular glass, appeared in front of them. It was 100 square meters in size. Perhaps it was because of the glass, but the visual spaciousness was doubled, making people feel relaxed and happy. Yi Xuanfei leaned against the window and looked out. The sky was twinkling with blurry light, just like her feelings at this moment. The night was also lit up by the lights. Under the contrast of the city lights, the night was even more beautiful. But no matter how beautiful it was, it couldn't be more beautiful than the man beside her. At this moment, Xiao Xiao was leaning against the window casually and lazily. The starlight in his eyes was brighter than the neon lights outside. In the dim private room, he looked like a noble who walked out of a medieval oil painting. Every part of him was exquisite. Even a strand of his hair looked so noble. "How is it? Are you satisfied with the place I chose?" Yi Xuanfei walked over to Xiao Xiao, who was leaning against the window, revealing a seductive curve. Yi Xuanfei was wearing a tight-fitting short skirt today, revealing two fair and straight legs. She leaned against the window and tilted her head to propose a toast to him. Her exquisite curves were outlined clearly with her actions. But Xiao Xiao's gaze drifted past the wine glass and walked around the human obstacles to the table. The environment is not bad. I wonder how the dishes taste. Remember, it's my treat today. Brother Qiao, are you sure it's your treat today? Yi Xuanfei followed Xiao Zhao's long legs to the table and sat down. The way she addressed Xiao Xiao became even more intimate. I said it's my treat, so it's my treat. You don't have to save money for me. Don't I still have to go to your library to read? Xiao Xiao made it clear that this meal was to return the favor. Yi Xuanfei pretended not to understand. Brother Qiao, I hope you'll always owe me a favor. It's best if you can never repay it. She dragged out the last syllable, and it swirled around the ceiling. The red wine in the wine glass was accompanied by Yi Xuanfei's coquettish voice. The red lips of the strong wine were about to ignite Xiao Zhao's hormones. Yi Xuanfei put her hand under the table and removed the blue star from her navel. She formed a spell in a place where Xiao Zhao couldn't see, and the entire private room was immediately covered in a layer of dreamy colors, spinning and shining like a crystal ball. Brother Qiao, how about some red wine? Yi Xuanfei poured some red wine into Xiao Zhao's wine glass. Xiao Zhao was a little dazed by the dreamy lights. The Yi Xuanfei in front of him became two illusory double images. At this moment, Xiao Zhao felt as if he was looking at Yin Ran. Xiao Zhao, you have to hold on. This woman used a formation, and it's a psychedelic formation. Xiao Zhao suddenly heard Kong Xiaoming's voice in the space. Xiao Zhao immediately woke up from his dazed state. He used a bit of devil energy to awaken the tadpoles in his brain and resist the psychedelia's invasion of his nerves. This demoness, Xiao Zhao cursed in his heart. No wonder Yin Ran told him to stay away from her. Yi Xuanfei was completely unaware of this. She continued to use her seductive eyes to seduce Xiao Zhao. The two of them drank one glass after another. But no matter what, Yi Xuanfei was still a girl. How could she compare to the hedonistic founder, Xiao Zhao? Very quickly, 2 bottles of red wine worth $10,000 were downed. At first, Yi Xuanfei was drinking very happily. Seeing Xiao Zhao drink one glass after another, she felt that her original plan would soon succeed. With the strong red wine and her psychedelic formation, this man would only see how good she was. But she didn't expect that by the time she was drunk, Xiao Zhao would become 3 heads in front of her eyes. She didn't even see the slightest change in Xiao Zhao. Very quickly, Yi Xuanfei was drunk. She was drunk in her own psychedelic formation. The psychedelic formation was like a catalyst, causing the original alcohol to evaporate to the extreme. Very quickly, it engulfed Yi Xuanfei's entire body. Her head was dizzy and her body was weak. Her limbs were weak. At this moment, she wanted to hang on to Xiao Zhao like a koala bear. She stretched her hands forward and finally grabbed a human cushion. Then she didn't let go. The waiters at the side saw that Yi Xuanfei was hugging their manager and didn't let go. They all looked at her enviously. But their manager was scared out of his wits. He desperately tried to break free from Yi Xuanfei's embrace. This young miss couldn't be offended. If she woke up and found out that he wasn't the person she wanted to hug, his life would be in danger. But Xiao Zhao was still sitting at the table, leisurely drinking his red wine. As long as Yi Xuanfei wasn't hanging on to him, he couldn't be bothered. The manager pulled a long face and moved Yi Xuanfei to Xiao Zhao's side. Sir, Miss Yi is your friend. You can't just ignore her like this. Xiao Zhao glanced at him. Didn't she already ask you for help? The manager wanted to kneel down in front of Xiao Zhao. I wouldn't dare to offend Miss Yi. Sir, please do a good deed and take her back. After speaking, he didn't wait for Yi Xuanfei and Xiao Zhao's agreement. He directly pulled Yi Xuanfei's hands off and placed them on Xiao Zhao's shoulders. Yi Xuanfei immediately changed her target and clung onto Xiao Zhao with all her might. At this moment, a ding sound was heard and the elevator door suddenly opened. A beautiful woman stood at the entrance of the elevator. Xiao Zhao saw the girl in the elevator suddenly widen her eyes. He immediately pulled Yi Xuanfei off his shoulders and threw her to the ground like a rag. He called out in surprise, Yin Ran. When Yin Ran saw the scene in front of her, she could not help but be stunned. She had followed Mr. Lu to this place. When she saw him enter the elevator, she followed. However, she did not expect to see a woman throwing herself at Xiao Zhao. Yin Ran looked around and found that Mr. Lu wasn't here. She walked in expressionlessly. Xiao Xiao was already one step ahead of the manager. He held Yinran's hand and was overjoyed. At this moment the manager said, "Miss, this is a private room. We don't receive guests who haven't made a reservation. If you want to eat, I'll take you to another floor." Xiao Xiao immediately said, "Let's go. We have to change places to have a good meal." "Wait a minute." Yinran slowly walked around the private room. She looked at the ant-like traffic outside the window and the sparkling stars in the night sky. She looked at Xiao Xiao lightly and said, "The environment here is good. Why don't we eat here?" Hearing Yinran's calm words, Xiao Xiao felt a chill run down his spine. He had a guilty conscience and had been caught red-handed. The respect he had for Yinran from the bottom of his heart had turned into a kind of fear. Yinran pointed at the girl lying on the ground. "Who is this?" Xiao Xiao hurriedly raised his right hand and explained, "This is Yi Xuanfei. She invited me to a meal today. I didn't want to agree, but I remembered that she had once lent me a book. So I'm returning her favor today. Today's meal is on me." Yinran was still expressionless. She sat in Xiao Xiao's seat and picked up the red wine on the table. She placed it in her palm and shook it slowly. "Then can young Master Qiao explain why Yi Xuanfei is lying on you?" Chapter 150. Xiao Zhao's heart skipped a beat. It was as though countless crows were flying over his head. That supervisor had really set him up. Of all times, he could have thrown Yi Xuanfei at him. Why did he have to throw Yi Xuanfei at him? "No, Yinran, listen to me." Xiao Xiao was so anxious that he started to sweat. "Yi Xuanfei was lying on top of that person just now. He threw her onto me when you came in." "Oh, you wanted to get her drunk?" After Yinran asked Xiao Xiao, she glared at the supervisor coldly. The supervisor felt a chill run down his spine. This person seemed to be even more ruthless than Yi Xuanfei. "No, Yinran, you misunderstood me. She wanted to get me drunk." Xiao Xiao was so anxious that he scratched his ears and cheeks and jumped up and down. "I only look at the result. The result is that she's drunk and you're not." At this moment, he wanted to cry but had no tears. He couldn't explain himself. Xiao Xiao could only pull the supervisor over. "Explain to her what happened just now." The supervisor was so scared that his legs turned to jelly. He didn't want to be involved in this conflict. This was obviously a love triangle, and both female leads were ruthless. Xiao Xiao was already grabbing his collar. He could only say, "Missy was lying on top of me when she was drunk. I couldn't handle it, so I threw her to this gentleman." The supervisor's legs were trembling. This girl who came in later had such a strong aura that the supervisor subconsciously wanted to submit to her. Yinran didn't say anything. She just looked at Xiao Xiao coldly. Xiao Xiao was scared by her stare. "See, I'm not lying. I'm really the victim. You're the victim with a fragrant and soft body in your arms." Yinran's voice was so cold that it could freeze a layer of ice. Xiao Xiao didn't want to explain anymore. It seemed that it was a mistake for him to be here. "Yinran, come back with me. I'll explain everything to you when we get back." Without waiting for Yinran's agreement, he pulled her into the elevator. The supervisor chased after them and said, "Sir, you haven't paid the bill yet." After getting on the elevator, they were finally in a relatively closed space. Xiao Xiao wanted to explain, but Yinran suddenly raised her right hand and stopped him. Yinran took out the totem on her chest. Sure enough, in Yinran's palm, the totem trembled slightly and emitted a faint golden light. "There's a formation around us." Yinran became serious. She had originally come here to chase Mr. Liu. After her investigation during this period of time, Mr. Liu and Yu Tian were the biggest bosses in the underground vault. According to the vault's security guard, the real powerful master was that inconspicuous Mr. Liu. Yinran speculated that the formation that day should be this Mr. Liu's inescapable net. No matter how big the net was, it couldn't escape Yinran's net of law. She had to pick herself up from where she fell. Yinran had been following the vine to find the melon since the summer vacation. She had been chasing from Nanchuan to Huanghai. According to the cable report, the biggest buyer of the underground vault was in Huanghai. If she did a good job, she could at least make up for half of the previous loss. Yu Tian, and Mr. Liu should be there in person. Yinran had followed the report and was secretly following the two hidden bosses. According to the frequency of the totem's vibration, Yinran knew that she was very close to them. I have a mission to carry out. You go back first. Yinran put away the totem and rolled up her sleeves. She was ready to go out as soon as the elevator opened. Xiao Xiao couldn't take it anymore. It wasn't easy to see Yinran, who he had been thinking about day and night. How could he just send him away so quickly? Yinran, let me go with you. I can definitely help you. Yinran glanced at him. Aren't you going to send Yi Xuanfei home? Xiao Xiao immediately beat his chest and stomped his feet. Why was Yinran still thinking about this? He immediately put his hand in the shape of a dagger and placed it in front of his neck. Yinran, if you don't believe me, I'll kill myself here. At this moment, the elevator door opened. Yinran walked out of the elevator without looking back. Then she said, Kill yourself? Let me see. Xiao Xiao resentfully retracted his hand and followed Yinran out of the hotel's dazzling hall. They returned to the pedestrian street outside. Then, he saw Yinran walk directly to the underground parking lot. The underground parking lot was on the other side of the hotel, and there were many cars coming and going. Yinran took advantage of the fact that the security guard in charge of the cars wasn't paying attention and drifted into the passageway. Xiao Xiao didn't stop either. He released a stream of devil energy into the camera above his head to cover himself in Yinran's figures and followed her into the passageway. The two of them walked very quickly in the dark passageway. Soon, they came to a narrow passageway with no cars or people around. It was only wide enough for two people to walk side by side. Xiao Xiao guessed that this should be a maintenance passageway that led to an unknown place. But Yinran didn't care at all. She just followed the frequency of the totem's vibration and walked straight forward. Yinran was like a walking machine that didn't know fatigue. In the end, she even started to fly on the ground. Xiao Xiao thought that his future crown princess was really too strong. Fortunately, he also cultivated well. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to keep up with her. If he was left too far behind, it would be too embarrassing. Xiao Xiao also became very alert. He activated his devil energy and followed closely behind like a shadow. In the entire passage, two figures flew faster than bats, just like bats. They didn't use their eyes and used ultrasound to determine the direction they were going. Xiao Xiao felt that they had already passed a flat road. After turning a corner, they entered a square space, and Yinran was flying upwards. He finally realized that they should be in an abandoned elevator shaft. And the pedestrian elevator they built themselves was rapidly rising. The two flew for a while. The frequency of the totem on Yinran's chest vibrated faster and faster. In the end, it became a kind of rapid vibration, as if someone had slid a sharp iron wire into the air. It caused a short whistle before completely stopping. We're here. It should be here. Yinran finally said her first sentence after a long silence. Xiao Xiao saw that Yinran seemed to have finally calmed down. He gathered his courage and hugged her waist from behind. He rested his head on her shoulder and rubbed against it. He could clearly feel that Yinran's back was stiff, but she didn't refuse him. My good Yinran, don't be angry. It's all my fault. Yinran's originally stifled anger disappeared for some reason. Her body softened, and she allowed Xiao Xiao to hug her from behind. The two of them floated in the air, relying on spiritual power and devil energy to support themselves. In fact, they didn't want to hang like this, but they couldn't find an exit at all. Yinran stopped being angry with Xiao Xiao and began to seriously look for an exit. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was really warm and fragrant. The scent of lavender filled his nose, and the aftereffects of the red wine he drank just now were starting to kick in. Gradually, his face turned slightly red and began to heat up. Of course, it couldn't be seen in the dark passageway. Yinran's neck was incomparably cool. Xiao Xiao rubbed against it and gradually started to burn. Yinran's actions of looking for an exit were interrupted. She waved her right hand and directly pushed Xiao Xiao's head away from her shoulder. Stop fooling around. We're doing something serious. Taking advantage of the alcohol, Xiao Xiao's temper also rose. He directly turned Yinran's body to face him, and then said seriously and righteously, Yinran, I miss you. I tell you, I miss you so much that I can't sleep at night. So now I want to kiss you. Yinran was caught off guard and was pushed against the wall of the elevator shaft. Xiao Xiao still remembered to use his left hand to support her and let Yinran lean on his elbow. Then, a sweet and fragrant kiss with the smell of wine impatiently came down. This time, Xiao Xiao had the first experience. He directly activated his devil energy and attacked Yinran's brain. And Yinran instantly surrendered under Xiao Xiao's superb skills. Yinran couldn't help but seem to be possessed. Led by Xiao Xiao's devil energy, the deepest desire in her heart was aroused. Yinran was like a lonely little boat, rolling up and down with the waves of the sea. She could not control her own thoughts, nor could she control her own actions. She could only follow the waves of the sea, rocking, 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 all the way to Granny Bridge. The two of them kissed passionately. In this dark elevator shaft, they floated in the air, like the two most brilliant and dazzling man-eating flowers, swaying and emitting the most fragrant hormones, wanting to tear each other apart and devour them. The little ripples in Yinran's heart, because of Yi Xuanfei, had already disappeared under Xiao Zhao's lips and tongue. People say that a kiss between lovers can best show how deep their love is for you. No matter what the feelings between two people were, a kiss was like a catalyst that quickly fermented, making the feelings mellow and strong. Yinran seemed to be blushed by the smell of wine in Xiao Zhao's mouth, and she felt dizzy. Until the kiss ended, she still maintained her original posture. Her eyes were closed tightly, her mouth was slightly open, and there was a trace of silver hanging from the corner of her mouth. She was in a daze, as if she was still asking for a kiss. Xiao Xiao looked at the cute Yinran and pecked her lips again. His tongue rolled and rolled away the silver strand. It was this light touch that made Yinran tremble and come back to her senses. Xiao Xiao let out a low laugh from his chest. Yinran, why are you so cute? Yinran was embarrassed and scolded in a low voice. Rogue! Are you satisfied? The demonic chi in our demon world is the strongest in this aspect in the 6 realms. And I have the purest bloodline. You can wait to enjoy life in the future. Oh. Yinran reached out and covered Xiao Zhao's mouth. You dare to say anything? Look at how proud you are. The flirtatious look in her eyes made Xiao Xiao dumbfounded. Yinran, you're so beautiful. You're just like the snow lotus on the highest mountain in our devil realm. There's only one flower growing out of the bare rocks. It's as pure as ice and as pure as jade. When I was in the devil realm, I would take a few people to climb up the highest mountain. Every once in a while, we would endure the extreme cold, just to see the flower bloom for a moment. I didn't expect that I would really find the snow lotus in my heart in the human world. Yinran, I am so happy. Chapter 151. Yinran was dazzled by Xiao Zhao's romantic words, completely forgetting that she was carrying out an important mission. She already knew that this peerless demon king not only had a perfect body, but also an extremely rippling soul. Which girl could withstand it? As long as he wanted, there was no city gate that he could not break. She hugged Xiao Xiao back, and the two of them enjoyed the warmth of this moment. The warmth did not give them much time. Yinran's chest, which was pressed against Xiao Zhao's chest, had a faint light, and in the dark elevator shaft, it was like adding a golden lock to their hearts. Yinran gently pushed Xiao Xiao away and restored her calmness. Okay, I have to go back to work, you go back first. Why are you chasing me away again? No, I want to go with you. Xiao Xiao was extremely dissatisfied. Yinran patiently explained to him. It is dangerous here. You have not undergone professional training. Sometimes you will be more of a hindrance. Xiao Xiao was unhappy. Don't worry, I will not be a burden to you. I can be your scapegoat at the critical moment. Yinran looked at Xiao Zhao's eyes full of determination, and had no choice. Then remember to follow me, don't make a sound. Then, using the light from the totem, Yinran used her spiritual power to cut a circle in a seemingly weak part of the elevator shaft. It was big enough for a person to bend over and pass through. The dazzling light shone through the hole. Yinran was about to crawl in, but a slender hand grabbed her arm, and she saw a charming face magnified in front of her eyes, and a peck on her lips. Xiao Xiao helped her comb her hair. and only then did he let her in. Yinran smiled sweetly and crawled out in a very good mood. Out was another narrow passage. Xiao Xiao and Yinran could only bend their backs and crawl inside. Xiao Xiao was very smart and immediately realized that this should be the ceiling of a certain floor. Following the guidance of the totem, the two people crawled to a place, and Yinran poked a hole in the partition with a finger. Xiao Xiao did the same, and only then did he know that magic was so useful. Xiao Xiao put his eyes on the small hole the size of his index finger, and looked down. But the scene in front of him was chaotic and foggy, and he could not see anything clearly. He looked up at Yinran, puzzled, and saw that Yinran directly took out the totem, and the totem in her hand was more obedient than in Xiao Xiao's. The small golden swords no longer moved in unison like before, but listened to Yinran's will, and whether it was a single soldier or a group charge, they were unstoppable. Yinran directly directed a small sword to fly into the turbid air, and saw that the small sword was very fast, but when it passed through the small hole the size of the index finger, it suddenly slowed down, and began to move forward little by little. Xiao Xiao thought that it had hit an obstacle, but when he saw Yinran's finger, he knew that she was controlling it. Xiao Xiao immediately realized that she was trying to avoid making a sound. Yinran was too thoughtful, and had rich combat experience. The small sword moved in front of the turbid air, and gently poked forward, and a small hole like an embroidery needle was formed. In the end, the small sword was not taken back by Yinran, but began to draw a circle around the center of the circle like a compass. The golden light of the small sword seemed to carry a scorching flame, and the place where it drew a line silently formed a hollow circle. Xiao Xiao silently gave Yinran a thumbs up. At his level, he only knew how to do things recklessly, so how could he work so slowly? The small sword was a great help to the two of them, and through the layers of fog, they finally saw the scene below. The room was very luxurious, and there were quite a lot of people. A huge leather sofa occupied a corner of the room, and at this time, 3 people were sitting on the sofa facing each other. Yinran recognized at a glance that the 2 people sitting on one side were Mr. Liu and Yu Tian, whom she was tracking. The one sitting on the other side of the sofa casually, with his legs crossed and smoking a cigar, was a Westerner with blonde hair and blue eyes. Around the sofa stood 5 burly men in black suits with their hands behind their backs. The positions of the 5 people were very unique, and Xiao Xiao and Yinran immediately realized that they were all standing in the eye of a simple defensive attack formation. It seemed that the 2 sides were not so trusting of each other. According to the distribution of the eye of the formation, this Westerner seemed to know a little about formations. Obviously, if the Westerner on the sofa was attacked, the 5 burly men would rescue and attack from all angles. Yu Tian and Mr. Liu, who were sitting on the sofa, were smiling like flowers at this time, and the word flattery was appropriate at this moment. The Westerner opposite them seemed to be even more casual, listening to the persuasion of the people opposite him, and only occasionally responding. The cigar was held between his index and middle finger, and just like that, he put it on the sofa, and the ashes from the cigar that had not been smoked for a long time fell on the expensive leather sofa. The voices of the few people were not loud or soft, but Xiao Xiao and Yinran were higher up, so they could only hear intermittently. Xiao Xiao listened for a long time, but could not hear clearly, so he simply stopped listening and turned to look at Yinran, only to see that she was staring at the few people without blinking. Xiao Xiao was just about to ask when he saw Yinran immediately raise a hand, meaning to stop Xiao Xiao from asking, and to not make a sound. Just like that, they peeked for nearly an hour. Yinran was motionless like a statue, and Xiao Xiao felt as if there were ants crawling all over his body, and every part of his body was itchy. Xiao Xiao began to move his noble butt, but before he could lift it, Yinran, who was next to him, directly kicked over and pressed down on his butt. Xiao Xiao was speechless, and mouthed silently to Yinran. "If you want to touch, just say it." He thought that Yinran could not understand at all, but he did not expect Yinran's expression to be a little awkward. Xiao Xiao suddenly realized that Yinran could read lips, and then he understood why she had been lying here and staring at the people below. It seemed that he could not help so he might as well just close his eyes and rest. Now that the alcohol was in his head, he was sleepy. Just like that, Xiao Xiao quickly went to report to the Lord of Zhou, and Yanran was still staring at the people below without blinking. When she started training at the age of 8, she would lie in the mud for hours without moving. Yanran was already used to it. Just like that, Xiao Xiao kept reminiscing about his time with Yanran in his dreams, and Yanran kept carrying out her secret mission. When the people on the expensive sofa finished talking, stood up, and left the room under the watch of the 5 big men, Yanran then slapped Xiao Xiao awake, and said to Xiao Xiao, who was sleeping soundly and almost drooling, "Let's go, wipe your saliva." The sleepy Xiao Xiao did not realize where he was for a moment, and when he heard the word saliva, suddenly nothing was important. He covered his mouth and jumped up, but he forgot his posture, and hit the floor less than a meter away, making a dong sound. Then he saw Xiao Xiao rubbing the back of his head, and looked bitterly at the beautiful, but in front of him that was twisting because of the crawling. He really wanted to go up and pinch it. The two of them followed the narrow passage back to the elevator shaft. Xiao Xiao watched as Yanran blocked the round hole again, and then used her spiritual power to do a simple repair of the circumference. If there was no big movement, it would not fall down. Xiao Xiao admired Yanran even more in his heart. She was thoughtful and meticulous. Yanran did not continue to follow Mr. Liu and Yu Tian, who had already left. She had already learned the follow-up arrangements from the few people's conversation. Now that she did not have enough manpower, she had to plan for the long term. Then Xiao Xiao naturally coaxed Yanran, who was ready to go back to her original hotel, back to his own hotel. But at the front desk, under Yanran's insistence, they booked a room next door. Xiao Xiao's idea was very simple. Wherever Yanran was, he would be there. It was the same no matter which room he stayed in. But when Yanran locked him in the corridor in front of him, he began to perform in the corridor. In the corridor, a handsome boy who was crying, and crying was apologizing heartbreakingly. "I was wrong. Please give me another chance. I won't dare to do it again next time." When Xiao Xiao started to howl for the first time, Yanran heard it. She knew that this guy was starting to pester her again. So she simply ignored him, and went straight to the spacious and luxurious bathroom to take a shower. When she was halfway through the shower, the phone on the wall rang. "Guest, your friend has attracted a lot of attention in the corridor. Can you help me deal with it?" Yanran's face darkened. She hurriedly washed up and put on her clothes. When she walked into the living room, she realized that Xiao Xiao at the door had attracted a lot of attention. She listened through the door for a while, and heard a group of people surrounding and persuading him. "Such a handsome young man. Don't hang yourself on a tree. Your girlfriend is too cruel. My daughter is very good. I'll introduce her to you tomorrow. Come to my room. I have something good to give you. Don't cry anymore. I can't help it if you cry anymore." The more Yanran listened, the more she felt that something was wrong. She opened the door and saw Xiao Xiao sitting at the door of her room. He was crying loudly, snot and tears. The people around him probably came to persuade him, and several managers of the hotel were also persuading him. Just as a young girl was about to hug Xiao Xiao and comfort him, Yanran stopped her with one arm, and then pulled out a big smile. "Sorry, my friend has some problems with his brain. I was taking a shower just now and didn't hear it. Thank you for your help." After that, she grabbed Xiao Xiao's collar and dragged him directly into the room. The people at the door were stunned by Yanran's actions. Such a handsome young man. What's wrong with his brain? What a pity. Go away, go away. The door is finally open. There were still a few young girls who didn't believe Yanran's words at all. Looking at Xiao Xiao, who was being pulled into the room, their eyes flashed with reluctance, and their hearts were full of nostalgia. It was as if they were shouting, "Brother, come with me." After entering the room, Xiao Xiao immediately returned to normal. He hugged Yanran and said proudly, "I knew you wouldn't leave me alone." Yanran gritted her teeth and said directly, "You sleep on the sofa." Chapter 152. He could sleep anywhere, but it would be best if he could sleep on a bed. Xiao Xiao glanced at the 3-meter-wide bed and walked into the bathroom, swinging his arms. He wanted to make himself fragrant first. He looked at himself in the mirror. He was as handsome as ever. He pouted and admired himself from all angles. Finally, he found that 45 degrees on the upper right side could best reflect his attractiveness. At this angle, his chin was connected to his slender neck, and his sexy Adam's apple was especially prominent. He nodded with satisfaction at his seductive self in the mirror. Then he released a little magic energy, making his whole face illusory. His skin looked transparent and textured, as if he had added a layer of filter. He also added a layer of magic energy on his bare hands. The originally slender joints became more three-dimensional. His nails were round and full, as smooth as jade. Every little sun was a standard beautiful crescent moon. The most exquisite part was his wrist. There was a silver-white bracelet on his right wrist. It was slightly protruding, as if it was about to slide down, but it was reluctant to part with the elastic skin. It just hung diagonally on his wrist, making his wrist look even more lustrous and fair. Xiao Xiao remembered that he had once given Yinran an ancestral bracelet, but he didn't know where Yinran kept it, and he didn't see her wearing it. It seemed that he still couldn't find out what Yinran liked. Well, he didn't think it through when he gave it to her. It seemed that bracelets were worn by older ladies. Yinran was still young, so it was normal that she didn't like it. Next time, he must make a matching couple's bracelet for Yinran to wear. Xiao Xiao thought happily. He was about to put on a bathrobe, but then he thought about how troublesome it would be to take it off. Xiao Xiao didn't know what to think. He smiled evilly and wrapped a bath towel around his lower body, exposing his lean and defined upper body. He opened the bathroom door and walked out. He saw that Yinran was lying on her side on the bed. The lights in the room were all dimmed, and Yinran was leaning against the headboard, reading a book. At this time, Yinran's hair was down, and the room was filled with the fragrance of lavender. Xiao Xiao took a deep breath. His Yinran smelled so good. He wanted to immediately jump into her arms and let the fragrance wrap around him. He quickly took a few steps forward and was about to touch the bed. He even made a pouncing motion, preparing to pounce directly onto the bed. That was what he thought and did. As his body pounced forward, he did not touch the softness that he imagined. Instead, he realized that his body was standing upright in the air, and the air that his entire body was in contact with was like an invisible wall, preventing him from moving forward. He gritted his teeth. Yinran, how can you set up a barrier? Yinran turned around and looked at him with a smile. Xiao Xiao saw the amazement in Yinran's eyes. Although she had seen Xiao Xiao's body a few times, he was lying on the hospital bed. At this time, he was standing in front of her, and it made Yinran sigh at the unfairness of God's creation. He had broad shoulders, a straight collarbone, strong chest muscles, and a mesmerizing waistline that swept from top to bottom, and then from bottom to top. Any increase in height would make him appear more handsome, and any decrease in height would make him appear more handsome. Xiao Xiao was locked outside the barrier. How could he be satisfied? He was like a boy in a bodybuilding competition, posing with more strength. Yinran lay on the bed and looked at Xiao Xiao with a smile. A feast for the eyes. She kept commenting, put your hands a little higher in this position, and bend your waist a little more in that position. After half an hour, he saw that Yinran was very happy on the bed, but she had no intention of opening the barrier. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but feel discouraged. Could it be that he could only sleep on the sofa tonight? Yinran, do you have the heart to let me sleep on the sofa? The sofa is too soft, and my waist will hurt. Xiao Xiao simply took the route of acting coquettishly. I just tried it. The sofa is very comfortable, and it won't hurt your waist. If it hurts, I'll treat it for you. Yinran was still smiling. Yinran, you've learned bad things. In the end, Xiao Xiao threw himself on the sofa, pulled up the quilt that Yinran had prepared for him, and began to sleep. Yinran took out her phone and began to work seriously. She had to report the news that she heard tonight to her grandfather. She was going to ask her grandfather to send more people to Huanghai to help her arrest Mr. Liu and Yutian, and at the same time, recover all the belongings that they had transferred. Yinran had always been a person who prioritized work. Although she didn't continue to follow Mr. Liu and Yutian, she was going to check out the location that they said they would deliver the goods at night. Xiao Xiao definitely couldn't follow her. He was a first-class expert in romance, but it was good enough that he didn't cause trouble for the case. Looking at Xiao Xiao, who had already fallen asleep on the sofa, Yinran opened the window and slowly flew down from a high place like a gecko. After a few leaps, she disappeared into the vast night. There was another group of people who didn't sleep for a long night, and that was Mr. Lu and Yu Tian, whom Yinran had been following. After the incident at Golden Age, the two of them had counted their assets, and they had lost almost half of it. Their sugar daddy was about to issue a global arrest warrant for the two of them. The two of them were desperate. The boss of the underground vault was originally Yu Tian, but Mr. Lu was already in the same boat as him. The failure of the formation last time let the sugar daddy know of Mr. Lu's existence, and they also gave him a strong condemnation. The sugar daddy gave a death order. I give you 3 months to recover your losses, otherwise, the two of them can choose all kinds of torture in the world. They had already contacted a group of people through their own families. This group of people was said to be cultivators, and they could help them transfer the money that was taken away by the police. However, the commission they wanted was also very high, basically cutting off 1/3 of their profits. This was simply a timely help. Mr. Lu and Yu Tian wanted to kneel down and prostrate themselves. Their originally miserable life could be considered to have seen a glimmer of light. In the past 2 days, they had received news that the group of cultivators had helped them get the money out and quietly transported it to a warehouse in Huanghai City. Their top priority was to re-examine the goods in the warehouse and find a way to transport them to the sugar daddy as soon as possible to reduce the mistakes they had made. Of course, it was impossible to transport 100% of the goods to the sugar daddy. In their known range, they had already lost 10%. Although this was also a matter of losing a layer of skin, at least it was much better than not being able to report 100%. At least they could keep their lives. The Westerner who met them tonight was the boss of a cruise ship company named David. He traveled back and forth between the Mediterranean region and Asia all year round. Naturally, he would do some illegal things while doing the cruise ship business. In fact, he could be considered Mr. Lu's old customer, and they had cooperated several times before. However, David was also a smart person. He heard that something had happened to Mr. Lu and Yu Tian's golden age, and all the goods in the underground vault were destroyed. Wouldn't that mean that they would not be able to cooperate in the future? Therefore, when Yu Tian called him today to ask for a gathering, he really didn't want to come. What else was there to talk about when the business was lost? However, later on, he found out that they had gotten the finance department back. David's original arrogant attitude changed into an amiable and reasonable one. The two sides talked for nearly 2 hours before all the details were discussed. Because Yu Tian and the others wanted to inspect the goods first, they deliberately set the delivery time to 3 days later. Yinran heard that the goods would be delivered in the warehouse 3 days later, but she didn't know that they would be inspecting the goods tonight. Just like that, Yinran directly bumped into Yu Tian and Mr. Lu. The warehouse was in the suburbs of Huanghai City. Yinran drove her rented car directly in the direction of the warehouse. The more she drove, the more remote the road became. She was already on 2 highways, and the kilometers showed that it was close to 200 kilometers. This was no longer Huanghai City, let alone the suburbs of Huanghai City. It could only be said that it was the junction between Huanghai City and another city. She believed that even the mobile company would have to change the location to send text messages. Yinran didn't sleep much during the day, and she had been following them at night. Now that it was night and she had been driving a long distance, she was indeed a little sleepy. However, the lights on the highway at night were not very good. She could only rely on the high beam of her car to illuminate the road ahead. Yinran felt like she was in the bloody mouth of a monster. The more she opened, the darker it became. It was as if she was moving forward through the monster's throat. She patted her face, gathered her energy, found a bottle of mineral water, and drank a few mouthfuls. Then, she heard the sound of her phone, and a WeChat message came in. Yinran opened it and saw that it was Qiao Zhao's message. I woke up in the middle of the night and didn't see you. Where are you? I'm on a mission. You sleep first. Xiao Xiao cried twice. Why didn't you bring me along again? You must be careful. Come back early after you're done. I'll wait for you at the hotel. Next time, you're not allowed to set up barriers. Otherwise, you'll be dead next time. Yinren couldn't help but laugh. Why would I be dead? What are you going to do to me? Humph. Xiao Xiao sent an emoji of grinding teeth. Wait for me. I'll kiss you to death. I'll kiss you until you can't get out of bed. I'm going to die. Yinren was stimulated by Xiao Xiao's words. She was no longer sleepy, but she was too embarrassed to continue talking to Xiao Xiao. She directly said to him, You're not allowed to drive. I'm driving. See you later. Xiao Xiao saw this inexplicable sentence. Only you are allowed to drive. I'm not allowed to drive. What kind of logic is this? After that, Yinren was no longer sleepy. She thought about the bits and pieces of her time with Xiao Xiao while driving seriously. It wasn't until half an hour later that she saw a lonely 4-story factory under the highway in front of her, that she knew she had arrived at her destination. She went around the highway from the front exit and parked the car about 500 meters away from the factory. She hid the car, tidied up her clothes, and walked to the factory alone. Chapter 153. In the dark night, it was as if the sky was smeared with endless thick ink. Not even the glimmer of stars could be seen. The night fog came. The midsummer night was a little cold. Under the hazy moonlight there were not many stars. The sky was not pure black. Instead, there was a boundless deep blue in the darkness that stretched into the distance. Yinren released her spiritual sense and explored the surroundings of the factory. Her spiritual sense was like a fog, gradually surrounding the entire factory. Just like what Yinren saw, the empty factory could be seen at a glance. There was not even a tree. The surrounding roads were not very smooth. The cement road and the dirt road were mixed together, extending all the way to the dilapidated factory. Yinren narrowed her beautiful eyes in the darkness. She carefully studied the bumpy road leading to the entrance of the factory. There was no rain these days, so the road was not muddy. However, there were still many wheel marks on the thick soil. The marks were already a little faint, but Yinren could still see that the pressure was very deep. It could be seen that the car at that time should have been loaded with heavy goods. It stretched all the way from the highway to the entrance of the factory. Yinren continued to explore with her spiritual sense. The spiritual sense that received the order seemed to stretch out countless hands to open the various gaps in the factory. However, these tentacles were soon blocked. The whole factory was sealed like a jar for some reason. There was no entrance that could be explored. Yinren knew in her heart that there should be an array formation set up here. It seemed that her guess was right. This was the place where they would deliver the goods in 3 days. The formation was like a layer of enchantment around the warehouse. Ordinary infrared satellites could not detect it. In the hearts of cultivators, the formation was comparable to thousands of soldiers and horses. Yinren's heart was filled with vigilance. The last time she suffered in the golden years, she still had a lingering fear. The person who set up the formation was a master. She simply retreated and did not go forward. Just now, she appeared in the open space in front of the factory. Fortunately, there was no one around. If there was a sniper, her head would have already exploded. She sat cross-legged in the shadows, took out the totem tattoo on her chest, and chanted an incantation. The totem tattoo spun rapidly in the air, and the small golden swords gathered in place, ready to attack. Yinren said in her heart, "Let's go." In the void, countless small golden swords flew towards the factory. Small holes were poked in the originally airtight factory. The outermost layer of the formation was like a deflated balloon, quickly deflating. The spiritual senses that had been waiting in the surroundings immediately poured in through the cracks like a flood. The spiritual senses of the higher void stage were strong and pure. With an unstoppable momentum, they directly broke through the first layer. She didn't expect that there would be a second layer inside. Yinren raised a breath of Zhen Qi from her dantian, opened her mouth slightly, and blew at the totem above her. The totem trembled all over, as if it had been injected with infinite energy, and began to rotate at 10 times the speed of before. The golden sword was like a bugle horn that had been blown to charge again, and charged towards the second layer of the formation. The resistance of the second layer was obviously much greater than that of the first layer. If the first layer was a layer of air film, then the second layer should be called a wall. The golden sword simply turned itself into a diamond-shaped drill, and directly began to drill into the wall. Layers of what seemed like golden lime splashed outwards with the attack of the golden sword, and soon the second layer of the formation was broken. Something's wrong, someone's attacking the formation. Mr. Liu and Yu Tian arrived at the warehouse a step ahead. In order to ensure the safety of the goods, they were prepared to stay here for the next 3 days. This warehouse was very spacious, and they filled up an entire floor with goods, and now they were prepared to stay on this floor. When they were outside, everything was simple. There were only 2 camp beds in the warehouse, and a few broken tables and chairs that were originally in the warehouse. In order to keep it a secret, they didn't bring anyone. This was also Mr. Liu's absolute confidence in his formation. This time, Mr. Liu had made thorough preparations. He used all the energy stones he had collected to form a very small lock formation, and then set up a larger heavenly fiend formation. The power of this formation was more powerful than the sky-supporting formation that was set up by his golden years. This was his family's ability, and the most powerful thing was that the people who were trapped in the formation had to break the formation to come out. If they couldn't break the formation, they would be in an endless cycle in another world. Mr. Liu did not belong to any aristocratic family in the world of cultivation. He hated the constraints of those rules and regulations. He liked to do as he pleased, and was obsessed with studying the formations passed down from his ancestors. These formations had helped him amass countless wealth. It didn't matter whether he was good or evil. The most important thing was to do as he pleased. Sensing the abnormality, Yu Tian was even more nervous than him. How is it? There won't be any problems this time, right? Don't worry. I'll make sure he doesn't return. Yanran broke the second layer of the formation, and it had already consumed a lot of her spiritual power. This time, she didn't have any scruples like in the golden years. If it really didn't work, she would directly blow up the warehouse. Anyway, there was no one around, and it wouldn't cause too much of a commotion. She injected more spiritual power into the totem, and the small golden sword that had broken through the second layer was blocked by a group of cotton, using softness to overcome hardness. It seemed that the third layer of cotton was not easy to break through. Yanran took back the totem, called back the small sword, and prepared to personally meet this formation. If she wanted to blow it up, she had to start from the inside. Yanran flew up from the shadows, and with a few light steps, she directly came to the side of the factory. She didn't choose to enter from the front door, but climbed directly to the 4th layer like a gecko. She pried open a window and went straight in. After going in, she felt the stickiness of the air inside. No wonder the small golden sword was stopped here. And Yanran felt it was difficult to breathe when she went in. She released her spiritual sense, and found that there was another layer of formation wrapped in this circle. It was much easier to be in it than to command it from a distance. Yanran summoned the totem again, and hit the sticky air. But at this moment, she didn't meet force with force. Instead, she gathered the small golden sword together, forming a huge stick, and this stick stirred back and forth in the air like dough. Soon, she stirred it into a force, tearing it abruptly, trying to tear the original space into several pieces. And Mr. Liu, who was in the innermost layer, looked at her with heartache. 2 of the energy stones had been smashed to pieces. He knew that the outermost 2 layers of the formation had been broken, and now the energy stone on the 3rd layer seemed to be a little unstable. He quickly bit his finger and dripped a drop of blood on the 3rd energy stone, and the originally shaking stone immediately stabilized. And Yanran clearly felt the sudden increase in pressure, and the originally sticky air was now wrapped around her like a spider web. Yanran was still very calm at this moment, and silently recited the incantation in her heart. Her fingers flew up and down, and constantly injected spiritual power into the totem. No matter how sticky the surrounding air was, It seemed to be afraid of Yinran, and kept spinning around her, but it just didn't dare to go forward. Yinran observed the changes in the aura around her, and the stick in her hand danced even faster, stirring up the entire space. It was like a flash flood, spinning upside down and upside down. And Yinran was the one who stood still in the middle. When Yinran felt that this force had gathered to the peak, she fiercely glared and shouted, "Break!" The stick that gathered infinite power fiercely attacked the third layer of the formation. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. Within the third layer of the array formation, the viscous air was smashed into pieces and scattered in all directions without any pattern. It was at this moment that the third layer of the array formation was broken. With a clatter, the energy stone that had been dripped with blood suddenly turned gray. Then it began to break apart from the center into countless pieces. It turned into a pile of fine powder and drifted away along the corner of Mr. Lu's clothes. Mr. Lu wanted to grab it in disbelief, but only some powder fell between his fingers. "Didn't you say that there would be no problem? Who is so powerful?" Yu Tian was a little anxious and began to go berserk in the entire factory. "Don't worry, this is just the beginning. There will be more for him to suffer." Mr. Lu looked at the gap between his fingers and suddenly clenched his fist and slammed it on the broken table next to him. Yinran looked at the scene in front of her, and as she guessed, after the third layer of the formation was the fourth layer, and there was probably a fifth layer and a sixth layer after that. Yinran sneered, and wouldn't be as passive as last time. Since she already knew her enemy, then let's see who's stronger. The fourth layer of the array formation was no longer static. As soon as Yinran entered, she could clearly feel the speed of the wind and lightning. The air in the array formation was attracted by some unknown magnetic force, and was crazily rotating around a pillar in the middle. The entire space was already empty. The dust, scraps of paper, and some other things that were originally in the array formation were also thrown into the air. Like sharp blades, they had already cut through the objects that came into contact with them, leaving behind streaks of cracks. Yinran looked at all of this coldly, and the totem in her hand was raised, and the small golden arrow was leveled slightly above her head, and then it scattered into the shape of a lotus. Yinran waved her hand, and the small arrow flew towards the pillar in the middle, and made a sharp whistle in the air as it spun. There was only a series of fluttering sounds, followed by a loud sizzling sound, so loud that it could pierce through one's eardrums. But Yinran was not moved, and her whole person stood in the middle of the formation, so calm that it was as if everything was in her hands, and moved according to her will. The golden lotus directly embedded itself into the pillar in the middle, and the force was so great that it directly broke the pillar in half, and in the next second, the entire space seemed to have lost its support, and began to tremble. Yinran was still under the pressure of Mount Tai, and her expression did not change, and her body did not sway, and the spiritual power around her body directly protected this young and beautiful body, and not even a speck of dust could come close. Chapter 154. As the tall and far pillar was cut in half from the middle, the originally regular rotation in the air suddenly became disorderly. A part of it revolved around the upper half of the pillar, and another part scattered in all directions. The debris that was originally swept into the air also fell to the ground instantly. The eye of the entire array was here. Yinran saw through it at a glance, and immediately blasted her spiritual energy towards the eye of the array. With a loud boom, an explosion comparable to thunder sounded, and the entire space shook 3 times. The huge impact of spiritual energy caused the fourth layer of the array to collapse in an instant like a stone smashing into an eggshell. The fourth layer broken. Mr. Lu, who was in the center of the array, felt a huge energy fluctuation, and this time, he did not have to bleed himself. The sudden explosion of the energy stone directly caused his chest to feel stuffy, and he spat out a mouthful of blood directly into the lock array. Who would have thought that the fourth floor would be broken so easily? Just who was this person? Mr. Lu had been in the pugilistic world for nearly 50 years, and he had never met such a strong opponent. He could not help but start to doubt his own array. Was his array too weak, or was his opponent too strong? His array was able to stop thousands of troops and horses. It had been passed down from ancient times, and it was the wisdom condensed from countless wars. How could it be broken so easily? The explosion of the energy stone aroused the strongest fighting spirit in Mr. Lu's heart. Yu Tian, who was shocked at the sight, was just about to go forward and ask when he saw Mr. Lu wave his left hand and wipe the blood from the corner of his mouth with his right hand. He stopped him from asking the question and said directly, "Don't worry, I won't let him have it easy later. There are still a few levels left, and it's enough for him to slowly suffer." Mr. Lu took out an energy stone that he had treasured for his entire life from his chest. It was passed down from ancient times, and it was extremely powerful. In the first half of his life, he did not have the chance to use it at all, but it seemed that he would have to make an exception today. This was a golden energy stone, and legend had it that it was formed from the inner core of a very pure and noble ancient mythical beast. No matter how powerful you are, I will let you have a taste of the power of an ancient mythical beast. With that, Mr. Lu placed the golden energy stone in the eye of the lock formation. In an instant, it was as if a mechanism had been activated. The entire lock formation began to slowly rotate from its original motionless state. Originally, a lock array could produce the 9 transformations of the heavenly fiend array. However, with the addition of a divine beast, the difficulty of the heavenly fiend array had increased by more than 10 times. Let's see how you're going to break it. Yanran directly entered the 5th level. She was already a little annoyed. One level after another was endless. As soon as she stepped into the 5th array formation, Yanran felt as if she had stepped into a scorching hot furnace. Above her head, it was as if there were 10 suns recklessly emitting heat. Yanran coldly snorted and pinched her fingers together to form an incantation. The small golden sword in the totem shot out like a slingshot, hitting the burning heat source in the air. However, the heat source was not immediately extinguished by the small golden sword. It was still crackling in the air. The battle between the small golden sword and the heat source had already caused the entire space to be filled with a burnt smell. The scalding air made Yanran feel very uncomfortable. At this moment, her watery cheeks had already started to sweat. Yanran did not want to wait any longer. She wanted to end the battle quickly. She increased her spiritual energy. The burnt smell in the entire space became even more intense. It even emitted a kind of foul stench. Yanran knitted her brows. She really did not like this smell. The way to break this level in the demonic sky array was to burn, using heat to fight heat. There was no better shortcut written in the book. Yanran could only endure the scorching heat that was like the equator and wait for everything to be burned to ashes. She also wanted to directly blow up this space. However, in a sealed space formed by an array, if she wanted to blow it up, it would only take effect within the array. It would not affect the outside world. This was the wonder of the heavenly fiend array. However, it would be soon. Yanran believed that she would be able to break through the 5th level very soon. How is it? Seeing that there was no movement in the array for a long time, Yu Tian could not help but ask anxiously. It's a good thing that there's no movement. This level seems easy to pass, but in fact the time in the array has been shortened. An hour inside is equivalent to a day outside. Let's wait slowly. No matter how powerful this person is, I believe that he will have to endure for a while. Furthermore, my mysterious weapon has not been used yet. If we can endure these 3 days, we can directly trade with David. Then, we don't have to care about this person who is trying to break through the array. He will be trapped inside forever. Yu Tian finally relaxed a little. Seeing that the energy stone was still relatively stable, he now hoped that time would pass quickly. What exactly is your mysterious weapon? Yu Tian asked curiously. Heaven's secrets cannot be revealed. I have a lot of good things. I said that this is only the beginning. Anyone who goes against me will definitely not have a good ending. Yanran was already sweating from the heat. She smelled the burnt smell in the air and knew that the array was about to break. However, how much longer did they have to wait? The small golden sword was already working very hard. Yanran added a lot of spiritual power to it, hoping that this level would end quickly. However, the more anxious she was, the slower time seemed to pass. She did not know what the heat source was. Now it was like a blunt knife that was slowly being ground. The small golden sword was burning bit by bit. Just like that, time passed through the gaps between her fingers. Back in the hotel, there was a person who was about to wake up sleeping on the luxurious 3-meter bed. His upper body was naked, and he was only wearing a pair of boxers. His 2 slender legs were exposed, and only a thin blanket was wrapped around his stomach. He rolled on the bed. He closed his eyes and felt around for a long time, but he did not feel anything. There was only the residual scent of lavender on the pillow. He buried his head in the pillow and sniffed deeply. Yinran, why aren't you back yet? When he woke up in the middle of the night, he realized that the barrier was no longer there. He knew that Yinran had gone out. He climbed into bed first. Yinran would come back one day, and he would definitely catch her. However, he slept until morning. Other than the lavender scent that Yinran had left for him, there was no one else. Men who woke up in the morning were the most annoying, and Xiao Xiao was the king of being annoying. Sadly, he had no one to show off his annoying skills to, so he could only bitterly get up alone. Speaking of which, how could the future crown princess let the crown prince sleep alone in an empty room? After Xiao Xiao finished washing up, he heard knocking on the door next door. He remembered that the room next door was his. Who's looking for me so early? Xiao Xiao looked through the peephole for a long time. He could vaguely see a coquettish woman dressed in skimpy clothes standing at his door. It seemed to be Yi Xuanfei. Xiao Xiao suddenly remembered that he seemed to have left her at the restaurant yesterday. Yi Xuanfei seemed to have been drunk at that time. It was over. Once he saw Yinran, he would fall in love with her forever. Other girls could only stand aside. Xiao Xiao recalled that today was his street dance competition. It seemed that Yi Xuanfei was here to invite him to the competition. This woman obviously had ulterior motives. It was best to ignore her. Xiao Xiao didn't open the door and ignored her. After a while, the knocking on the door next door stopped. He received a WeChat message on his phone. Are you awake? I'm here to pick you up for the competition. Xiao Xiao deliberated for a moment before replying. I've already left. See you at the competition. After a while, he heard that there was no movement in the corridor. There were thousands of beautiful women, but he only had one Yinran. He couldn't let Yinran misunderstand him again. After Xiao Xiao finished packing, he quietly opened the door and looked around the corridor. He didn't expect to see Yi Xuanfei. Instead, he saw 2 other girls waiting at his door. They were 2 of the bystanders who had watched his act last night. Xiao Xiao was shocked. What are you 2 doing here? When the 2 girls saw Xiao Xiao come out, they said shyly, We wanted to see if you were bullied last night. Xiao Xiao slipped as he walked out. It seemed that he had overdone his act last night. He could only turn around and smile widely at the 2 girls. My girlfriend is really nice to me. She didn't bully me, but she said that if any girl pestered me again, she would break their legs. The 2 girls were stunned. One of them wanted to grab Xiao Xiao's arm. Your girlfriend is so fierce. Why are you still with her? Xiao Xiao turned to the side and smiled wickedly. Sorry, I'm a masochist. After saying that, he disappeared in front of the 2 girls in a cool and arrogant manner. Seems like this is a perfect body with an idiot's IQ. The other girl murmured. Xiao Xiao whistled all the way. He was in a good mood when he came to the restaurant to relieve his internal organs. He flirted with the waiters, and the buffet became a buffet. He sat at his seat and smiled at the waiters. Naturally, an endless amount of food would be served to him. When he left, he blew a kiss that made the waiter's heart skip a beat. After leaving the hotel, Xiao Xiao put on his sunglasses and mask. For the competition, he wore the clothes that he had specially prepared. It was still mainly layered, but the colors were brighter. The color combination was eye-catching, but it didn't look messy. On the basis of the main color black, he added a few bright colors. The matching accessories were also carefully selected. They wouldn't be in the way when he jumped or felt cumbersome. There were a few tassels on his thighs. It added to the movement of his long legs. It was a pity that his personal makeup artist wasn't here. He would talk about it when he reached the venue. The organizers should have a makeup artist. Following the guidance of the huge billboard of the street dance competition, Xiao Xiao successfully found the venue of the finals. The impassioned music was like a bugle horn that had reached 3 miles away. Xiao Xiao followed the beat of the drum and slowly walked through the door. Just as he appeared at the door, a girl rushed over and said in a sweet voice, "Xiao Xiao, I've been waiting for you here for a long time." Great, Yi Xuanfei was waiting for him here. Following Yi Xuanfei, another person walked over. When Xiao Xiao saw him, he sneered in his heart. Hee, it was him. Chapter 155. Xuanfei, aren't you going to introduce him to me? Jason stared at Xiao Xiao in disbelief. Xiao Xiao recognized him immediately. He was Jason, whom he had met in the finals last year. That day, it hadn't been a good experience. Jason had been full of hostility when he saw the demon aura above his head. "Oh, let me introduce you. This is my best friend Xiao Xiao. This is Jason." Yi Xuanfei's intimate tone made Jason frown. As Yi Xuanfei spoke, she was almost hanging onto Xiao Xiao's body. Her arm was almost wrapped around Xiao Xiao's arm. Xiao Xiao stepped to the side, and Yi Xuanfei almost fell. Jason was quick to react and caught hold of her. He then glared at Xiao Xiao. "Why don't you know how to take care of a woman? Can't you see that Xuanfei is about to fall?" Xiao Xiao couldn't help but laugh. He was about to retort when Yi Xuanfei beat him to it. "Jason, please show some respect to my friend. Don't speak to him in such a tone." Jason panicked. Just now Before he could finish his sentence, Xiao Xiao had already walked past the two of them and strode forward with Yi Xuanfei following behind. Jason was so angry that he stomped his foot and followed after her. Since when did the Miss of the Eastern District hang out with this person? How could he be so tactless? Jason found it strange that the demon aura above his head had disappeared. Could it be that he had become a good person? No matter what, he didn't like this person. He was probably here to participate in the competition, so he would torture him on the field. Xiao Xiao's legs were long, and his strides were wide. Yi Xuanfei had to jog a few steps to catch up. She grabbed Xiao Xiao and said, "Brother Xiao, wait for me. I drank too much last night, and you didn't care about me. In the end, you even let a hotel manager send me back. It's so embarrassing." Xiao Xiao rolled his eyes. It seemed that the supervisor didn't tell anyone about Yanran. Then it would be easier for him to explain. "I don't know where you live," the supervisor volunteered. "Later, I drank too much and went back to the hotel first." "Are you okay?" The words "are you alright" made Yi Xuanfei's discomfort disappear. At the same time, she felt as if she had drunk a large jar of honey. The sweetness spread from her tongue all the way to her heart. "Brother Xiao, your dance dress today is so stylish. Did you design it yourself? I haven't seen a similar design on the market. It's sexy and seductive, and it's convenient to dance too." Yi Xuanfei's heart was filled with sweetness. Xiao Xiao said proudly, "I designed it myself. Does it look good?" After saying that, he winked at Yi Xuanfei. "It looks good." These were Yi Xuanfei's heartfelt words. She had never seen anyone more handsome than Xiao Xiao in this world. Jason followed behind them and listened to their interaction. Seeing the smitten expression on Yi Xuanfei's face, he gritted his teeth so hard that he almost broke them. He walked up and said to Yi Xuanfei, "Xuanfei, let's go pick up the records first. I'll take you over there." Unexpectedly, Yi Xuanfei waved her hand coldly at him and said, "You go first. I want to be with Xiao Xiao." After saying that, she ignored him. She smiled at Xiao Xiao and posed seductively with her sexy and seductive body. Her waist was faintly discernible under the loose jacket. Her shiny belly button sparkled as she moved her waist. It was so dazzling that it almost blinded Jason's eyes. Xiao Xiao and Yi Xuanfei were watching the video of the semifinals on the big screen next to them. It happened to be playing his dance with Yi Xuanfei. He watched it carefully from the beginning to the end. When they were dancing, he didn't think much of it. But now that he watched it again, it was indeed too intimate. He touched his nose. No wonder Yanran was angry. It seemed that he was still in her heart. What a jealous woman. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but smile when he thought of Yanran. Yi Xuanfei, who was beside him, saw Xiao Xiao staring at the video and revealed a blissful and sweet smile. She was overjoyed. She had watched this video countless times. Every time she watched it, her heart would still beat faster. She was really poisoned by Xiao Xiao. Jason, on the other hand, was shocked. He didn't know that Yi Xuanfei and Xiao Xiao had such a relationship. It was a crazy, intimate, sexy, and seductive dance. The two of them looked so compatible that countless onlookers were envious. Brother Qiao, are you still going to solo for the finals? Yi Xuanfei still wanted to dance with him. Yes, I'm going to solo. I'm not going to join the dance team. I won't have time to rehearse, and won't be able to win the prize. Actually, Xiao Xiao didn't want Yinran to be angry again. No matter who he teamed up with, even if it was a guy, he didn't want Yinran to misunderstand. Alright then. Yi Xuanfei was a little disappointed. It seemed that she could only team up with Jason. Previously, she had already rehearsed a dance with Jason. But ever since Xiao Xiao came along, she became restless. Jason and Xiao Xiao couldn't be compared at all. Brother Qiao, do you have a makeup artist? I brought a very good makeup artist with me. Let her do your makeup for you. Xiao Xiao had this intention. Hence, the two of them walked into the makeup room under Jason's envious gaze. Yinran placed a layer of enchantment around herself, blocking a small part of the heat. But she couldn't block it all. She still had to release her spiritual power to command the golden sword to attack the heat source. Her whole body felt as if she was soaking in a huge sauna. It was so hot that she was already sweating profusely. Her hair was sticking to her scalp, and her clothes were wet as if they had been washed by water. She was wearing them on her body. The extremely uncomfortable feeling made her a little irritated. She dried the clothes on her body, then wet them, then dry them again. It was sticky and uncomfortable. She looked at her watch. More than half an hour had passed. Luckily, there was still time. It would probably be over soon. What Yinran didn't expect was that after more than half an hour in the space, it was almost noon of the next day. Yu Tian and Mr. Lu finally had a good night's sleep. When Mr. Lu woke up, the first thing he did was to look at his family's heirloom energy stone. It was in the middle of the lock formation, motionless. However, the energy stone that was supposed to control the fifth formation was a little dim. Mr. Lu's heart thumped. It seemed that the fifth formation was about to be broken. He had to delay as long as possible. If he had known, he would have delivered the goods earlier. Yu Tian added, "It's impossible to deliver the goods earlier. The cruise ship has a fixed departure time. 3 days is the earliest it can be. It seems that the fifth formation is about to be broken. Let's see how he breaks the sixth formation." Sure enough, as soon as Mr. Lu's voice fell, the fifth energy stone cracked. The stone that was originally full of vitality suddenly turned gray, as if it had been abandoned by the world. Mr. Lu's heart was already dripping blood. Many of his companions who had been with him through life and death for so many years had died during this period of time. It was as if a piece of flesh had been gouged out from his heart. Death by 1,000 cuts was nothing more than that. However, he believed that the huge monster in the sixth formation would make the opponent tremble. Xiao Zhao's competition this time was solo, while Yi Xuanfei's was solo and team. When the two of them finished putting on their makeup, they saw that Xiao Xiao had put on a devilish disguise. Her eyes were covered in thick pink eyeshadow, and she stuck a few sparkling rhinestones above her cheekbones. Her hairstyle was pulled open on her forehead, making her look fluffy and lively. As Xiao Zhao's head moved, a few diamond tassels could be seen hanging from the ends of his hair, as if a few thin braids were hanging on his shoulders. Yi Xuanfei originally wanted to put on a face, but after seeing Xiao Zhao's makeup, she insisted that the makeup artist help her change it to the same style. Thick blue eyeshadow, but the corners of her eyes were raised more exaggeratedly, flying all the way to her temples, and there were sequins on her cheekbones. Her ponytail stood up high on top of her head, making her neck even more slender. Today, her stage outfit was a golden neckline tube top, diagonally connected to the navel ring on her waist. The sapphires on the ring and the eyeshadow complemented each other, making her look mature and charming. Yi Xuanfei pulled Xiao Xiao along and took a few photos with him. Then, she immediately set their photos as the background of her phone. Xiao Xiao silently noted it down. He also had to explain this matter to Yinran when he was free. Very quickly, Xiao Xiao attracted the attention of the other contestants. Some people recognized Xiao Xiao. He was one of the top contestants in the semi-finals. Hence, Xiao Xiao's photos were posted on the official Weibo account of the street dance competition. At the same time, someone also posted it on Nanchuan High School's Tieba. Instantly, the Tieba was filled with comments. Walking snow. Ah, it's Brother Qiao, it's Brother Qiao. Brother Qiao went to participate in the street dance competition. As his personal makeup artist, I'm actually not there. I want to fall to the ground and roll 100 times in a row. Pandora's box, and me. Who took my place? I'm the personal photographer. Big frog at the bottom of the pit. It's been a long time since I saw Brother Qiao's gorgeous face. It's still so stunning. This face only exists in the sky. From now on, we can only look at each other from afar on the internet. It's so sad. I'm only missing a pair of sports shoes. Brother Qiao is calling for me. Who can give me a pair of sports shoes? I'll fly to the competition venue immediately. Little Jar loves photography. I want to be the little diamond on Brother Qiao's face. I want to drill into his heart. Loudspeaker's small broadcast. I want to be the little pearl on Brother Qiao's braid. I want to lean on his broad shoulders. Brother Qiao's fan club. I missed the days when Brother Qiao was in school. He was my motivation to study every day. Expired biscuit. I'm crying to the heavens. I beg Brother Qiao to send more photos. I want to lick the screen. Strawberry flavored apple. Who's there? Hurry up and record all of Brother Qiao's videos for me. I want to play them back and forth 5,000 times. Xiao Xiao immediately received condolences from his classmates on WeChat. Zhang Deong. Brother Qiao, Miss Zhu is throwing a tantrum on the podium. I secretly sent you a WeChat message from my desk. You must save the photos well, and take a few more beautiful photos. Now the price of your autograph photos has risen to 500 yuan in school. I want to make a fortune. From now on, I'm counting on Brother Qiao's thigh. Then, Zhang Deong casually sent a link to Xiao Xiao on Tieba. Xiao Xiao clicked on it, and saw that his autograph photos were for sale. There were only 3 of them, and the price had already risen to 500 yuan. Xiao Xiao couldn't help but give Zhang Deong a like. You're good at making money. Soon, your family will have a mine. Chapter 156. Yanran directly switched to the 6th array. The surrounding scorching heat had disappeared completely. This allowed Yanran to finally breathe a normal breath of air. She spat out the turbid air in her throat. After being burned for a long time, she had an extreme desire to drink water. But there was no water in the space. This was a barren desert. The only way to get out of here was to break the array. Yanran recalled in her heart what kind of array this level was. But before she could think clearly, a black shadow fell from the sky. She looked up and saw half of the space was occupied by a huge monster. And she was not even as high as the monster's ankle. Magical beast. Yanran's face became dignified. The array was easy to break, but if she wanted to defeat this magical beast, it seemed that it would take some effort. The smell of blood mixed with the smell of the magical beast was sent to her nose by the wind. Yanran shivered as she looked at the huge monster in front of her in shock. This was a species that had never been seen in the human world. She had only seen similar pictures in ancient books. She did not expect that today, she would actually encounter it in person. She carefully observed it. This huge monster had 2 sharp curved horns on its head. Its 2 nostrils were like 2 black holes. She believed that if she stuffed 2 of them, she would not feel crowded. At this time, the 2 huge nostrils were breathing out stinky air. Preliminary judgment was that this was a bull. Since Yanran began to cultivate, she had only fought with humans. She had also fought with bison several times. But what kind of realm was this bison that was like a small mountain? Yanran quickly analyzed the characteristics of the bison in her mind. The book once said that the natural enemies of the bison were lions and hyenas. Their temperament was also very fiery, and they were very aggressive. Although many times they would become the prey of lions, but there were also many lions that died under their horns. Because of the living environment and other factors, the adult bison would not take the initiative to attack, even if it was a lion. This also showed that their fighting strength and attack power could not be underestimated. Cows were born colorblind and couldn't see most colors. They weren't interested in stationary objects, but shaking objects could easily excite them, so shaking would make them very sensitive. Although Yanran thought about it for a long time, it only lasted for a moment in her mind, because the barbaric bull was already charging towards her from above. The battle began in the blink of an eye, majestic and full of wild aura. A roar came from the top of his head. Like a moving small mountain, he crazily pressed down on Yanran. The space wasn't big, so the barbaric bull arrived in front of her in a few leaps. Wherever its hooves went, a large amount of dust was raised, and several deep pits were formed on the ground. The barbaric bull lowered its head deeply, and its two curved horns were like the sharpest spears in the world. It vowed to pierce through Yanran's entire body. Yanran's eyes turned cold, and she quickly supported her whole body's spiritual power. With a tap of her feet, she jumped a few times and dodged like a catapult. The barbaric bull didn't give her a chance to breathe. Facing her direction, its huge horns and head came crashing over. As long as she was touched, Yanran's thin and small body would inevitably be directly penetrated or directly hit against the wall, and she would vomit blood and die. Yanran's jumping body aroused the bull's excitement. It was quite sensitive to shaking objects, and its huge body became relatively flexible in the narrow space. Not only the bull's head, horns, but also its 4 hooves, and even the tail behind it that was like a steel whip, were all powerful weapons of the barbaric bull. And the most powerful thing was its body that was like a small mountain. Yanran was being chased by it, until she was in a difficult situation. Although her speed was fast enough, from time to time she was forced into a corner by the barbaric bull. Just a moment ago, she turned her body and rolled on the ground to avoid the trampling of the bull's hooves, but she didn't manage to avoid the incoming bull whip. She quickly rolled again, and used her hand to grab the bull whip. Taking advantage of the situation, she took out a dagger, and used the dagger to directly cut a hole in the bull whip. Taking advantage of the momentum, she jumped up, pulled out the dagger, and brought out a line of blood. Soon after, she twisted her body and stabbed the dagger into the bull's body. The bull's skin was very hard, but under Yanran's spiritual power, it was simply unable to escape. The barbaric bull howled as it was stabbed by the dagger, and crazily bounced up and down unceasingly. And Yanran simply took advantage of this force to climb up to the top of the barbaric bull's head. The barbaric bull fiercely stopped its 4 hooves, and the horns on its head turned in the direction of Yanran, and the sharp tip was about to poke Yanran's small waist. Yanran took advantage of the momentum to directly grab the thinnest part of the bull's horn with her hand. With a twist, a turn, and a flip, she directly jumped onto the bull's head. Once she steadied herself, Yanran fiercely chopped down. The pressure of the great void stage pressed down from the top of the bull's head, and in the blink of an eye, she shuttled back and forth between the bull's body and the battlefield. In terms of combat experience, fighting skills, and footwork, she had undergone countless training and would not lose to anyone, especially not to this barbaric bull that only knew how to use brute force, but was not very agile. Yanran held the dagger tightly and stabbed it into the bull's vitals. Then, she slit the bull's head, dug out the crystal core on its forehead, and put it into her bag. This huge barbaric bull had lost the most important part of its body, and it was as if it had lost its soul. Its cumbersome body could no longer support itself. It first swayed twice, then fell limply to the ground, and no longer moved. Its entire body was still huge even after it fell, occupying more than half of the entire space. Xiao Zhao's solo was about to go on stage, and Yi Xuanfei was even more nervous than herself. However, Xiao Zhao casually sat on a chair, his 2 long legs stretched out straight in front of him, and only his body swayed left and right to the music on stage. He was also very excited to see others dance, but he was not nervous at all. He was starting to miss his personal photographer, who had been entrusted by Zhang Deang. It seemed like he would have to think of a way to take a few beautiful photos in the future. The wealth of his old classmates still fell on him. He suddenly realized that Zhang Deang had the potential to be a manager. If he were to enter the entertainment industry in the future, wouldn't he be a ready-made good partner? The order of appearance for the solo finals had been decided a week before the competition, and all the drawing of lots was carried out under the supervision of the organizing committee. Xiao Xiao was placed in a team for the semifinals, and he was currently the most promising contestant in the team by the captain. The captain said that his performance was natural and smooth, his dance sense was exquisite, his technique was on point, his performance was infectious, and he was good at communicating with the audience. He could perfectly integrate with the music and express the characteristics and meaning of the music. Xiao Xiao felt that his words were quite accurate, and he liked this captain. On the other hand, Yi Xuanfei was placed in another team. She regretfully said goodbye to Xiao Xiao for the time being, and walked away, looking back 3 times with each step. The solo competition was actually also a competition system, and the competition system was much more complicated than the semifinals. First, the teams would compete to determine the winner, then the teams would compete to determine the top 10 in the country, followed by the top 7, the top 4, and finally the overall champion. This meant that there would be 25 rounds of tag team battles. The last round was the finals, and the requirement was that the dancers of the same dance genre were not allowed to listen to music. They had to rehearse by themselves first, and they had to jump out immediately when music was played at the last minute. This was extremely difficult. When the competition system was announced, there was an uproar at the venue and online. I love freedom. This competition system is too cruel. Anyone who goes up will lose due to lack of stamina. Pomelo blooming. Of course, stamina is important. If you can last till the end, you will be the champion in my heart. Dream of the land. That's the way it should be. Only a few rounds can tell the contestants' level. Love beating eggs. This is comparable to a sports competition. It's a bit like a triathlon. She on the door frame. If you don't listen to music and just rehearse, then how do you match it with music? This is too difficult. Improvisation is simply killing these contestants. Shock to the end. You know how to play. Are you a street dancer or a contestant? Flying in June. Exciting, tiring, and refreshing. You deserve it. Occupying territory as king. Inhuman torture. Waiting to be Buddha. The organizing committee is a bunch of perverts. There was a lot of wailing online, but it also gave better publicity to the competition. Only with controversy would there be higher ratings. Soon it was Xiao Xiao's turn. Dancers were sitting in a circle around the stage, waiting for their turn. Some were standing, while others were sitting on the ground. When Xiao Xiao heard his name being called, he walked up the stairs from the side. His steps were firm and casual. His figure, which was comparable to a male model's, immediately attracted the attention of everyone present. The stage was dimly lit. Xiao Xiao stood in the center. He heard a sound of surprise from the judge's table opposite him. Then he heard a judge say, "Please start your performance." Suddenly, a ray of blue light shot down and hit Xiao Xiao's body. Xiao Xiao lowered his head, crossed his hands in front of his hips, and spread his legs wide apart. Under the reflection of the light, the colorful powder and tassels on his body shone brightly. Dynamic music sounded, and the lights suddenly brightened. Xiao Xiao shook his head, and the small braids on his head spread out. Xiao Xiao stood in the center like a proud male peacock. His head was high, and his perfect face was immediately exposed under the spotlight. His beauty was unparalleled. His shirt was bright and colorful on the stage. At this time, the screen was explosively open, proudly showing his beauty to the world. Dreaming of the land. Wow, 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 what a peerless face. I didn't expect such a big surprise. Love beating eggs. Who is this little brother? I think I've seen him before. I am the whole harem. This little braid, it's too exciting. On the door frame. Has the street dance competition changed to a beauty contest? This, I want to lick the screen. Peach tea. Such a good-looking little brother. He looks so familiar. I love him. He's so handsome. Shocked to the end. This person should only exist in the heavens. Why did he fall into the human world? Xiao Xiao followed the dynamic music and pushed his dance to the first climax. This movement required the strength of the arms, waist and legs. It also consumed a lot of energy. Without a certain foundation, very few people could do it perfectly. Xiao Zhao's movements were smooth, and his body seemed to be electrified. The infinite beauty of strength was displayed in front of everyone. Yi Xuanfei was so excited that her face turned red. She pressed her hands to her chest, and her heart was about to jump out of her chest. Xiao Xiao followed with a classic turn of the head. This movement required a lot of strength in the head, but Xiao Zhao's head froze, and he completed it easily. When he turned over, his shirt floated down, revealing his strong and charming waistline, which caused countless screams from the audience. The comments were crazy on the internet, and screenshots were flying. The viewership of street dance was already high, and now Xiao Xiao pushed it to a climax. Chapter 157. Yanran looked coldly at the fallen barbaric bull. The bull's eyes were still filled with disbelief and fear. At this time, his eyes were already wide open. It was said that the bull's eyes were like a magnifying glass, magnifying the things in front of him. This might be the reason for his fear. Yanran directly jumped down from the barbaric bull. Her weight was like an ant to this giant bull, but it was this ant that shook the elephant. Yanran's mind moved. The totem flew out and spun rapidly, emitting a golden light. After a few rounds of gathering and spreading, a circle of strong golden light directly scattered the space. The 6th level broken. As the 6th energy stone broke, Mr. Lu was no longer as confident as before. He had already taken out all his trump cards, but they were still easily broken by the other party. Although the interval was getting longer and longer, he was not sure how much longer he could drag it out. He said to Yu Tian in fear, "We might have to think of a way to escape. I can't guarantee that this array will not be broken." Yu Tian was in disbelief after hearing this. He had known Mr. Lu for more than 20 years. He had always been arrogant and self-satisfied, thinking that he was the best in the world. He had never taken the initiative to admit defeat. Will it really be broken? Don't you still have 3 levels? Didn't you say that as long as we drag it out until the day of delivery, we can smoothly complete the task? I thought so, but looking at the speed he is breaking the array, the 3 levels will be broken sooner or later. I'm worried that we won't be able to wait until the 3rd day. Not the 3rd day, now there are only 2 days left. Can't we wait for 2 days? Yu Tian shouted loudly. I can only say that we might not be able to wait, Mr. Lu said and lowered his head in shame. Yu Tian stared at him in disbelief. He bet all his life on this. He could only win and not lose. Mr. Lu, I beg you. Our lives are tied together. If there is a problem with this batch of goods, then we will be hunted down by the gangs of the world. We won't even need 2 days. We won't be able to live for more than 2 days. Moreover, our deaths will be very tragic. Think of another way, you must think of another way. Yu Tian was so afraid that he was about to kneel down in front of Mr. Lu. Mr. Lu closed his eyes. I know. I'll think of something. I'll think of something. Yanran directly entered the 7th level. As soon as she stepped in, a strange phenomenon occurred in the weather. A sky full of snow floated down from the sky, and Yanran instantly felt a chill. Because of the exercise just now, she was sweating all over, and at this time, she was chilled by the cold wind. She directly added a layer of enchantment on top of her head, and the snowflakes could not float to her body, only sprinkling around her. She walked forward against the barrier, but before she could take 2 steps, 10,000 arrows suddenly flew down from the sky. Yanran's nerves grew colder and colder. This formation was similar to the Earth Evil Star formation that Yi Xuanfei had once set up. Yanran did not need to take out the totem at all. She directly used her spiritual power to attack the eye of the formation. The spiritual power was like a vortex, bottomless, and wrapped the entire eye of the formation. The huge force made the eye of the formation tremble and shake. Starting from the inside, the cracks spread out like a spider web. It did not know how long it lasted, but when the cracks reached a certain limit, there was a bang, and the formation was broken. Yanran broke this formation less than an hour ago. Looking at the 7th broken energy stone, Mr. Lu's face was ashen, and Yu Tian fell to the ground. He was so anxious that his voice began to tremble. No, we can't rely on the formation alone. There's only one day left. I have to think of another way. Yu Tian took out his phone and dialed a series of confidential numbers. Soon the phone rang twice and he said a name. Please transfer it. After a while the call was connected. 50% of all my profits will be yours, as long as you save us. Deal. An old voice replied on the phone. Mr. Lu looked at each other. 50%? Isn't the other 20% going to the person above? Doesn't that mean we only have 30% left? You're still thinking about money. It's good enough that you can survive. At this critical juncture, you can use money to buy your life. You should be thanking the heavens that someone is willing to help you. Mr. Lu looked at his broken energy stone. At this moment, there was no other way. His heart ached immensely. On Yinran's busy day, Xiao Xiao completed his first round of performance. The craziness of the scene not only infected the audience, but also shocked the judges. One of the judges commented, Xiao Xiao's street dance is very unique. His basic skills are solid, his plot is strong, and his movements are explosive. He's a street dance genius that's hard to come by in 100 years. I'm very confident that you'll win the championship this year. Xiao Xiao looked at the judge who commented. It was the president of the China Street Dance Council, Zhang Zongyao, who had received his name card before. Hence Xiao Xiao politely bowed to him. The design of the street dance competition was more complicated. Xiao Xiao followed their team and performed many rounds of group dances and team performances. The audience's eyes lit up the entire stage. Xiao Xiao used his talent and his peerless appearance to easily enter the top 4 of the national competition. Other than him, Yi Xuanfei Jason and another person named Eason also entered the top 4 of the national competition. The first day of the competition ended successfully. The second day was the most crucial, and also the competition that the entire internet paid attention to. The most brutal 25 rounds of battle. That night, the few of them didn't idle around. In order to make the second day of the competition more enjoyable, the organizing committee arranged a last-minute warm-up dance for them. At the same time, they were also informed that there would be a solo in the first round tomorrow. They would be given 5 minutes to think about the music, and then immediately perform on stage. Once the competition was announced, the audience's appetite was whetted. Just the appearance of the top 4 of the national competition made everyone want to kneel down. At this moment, Xiao Xiao was also recognized by many people. #This is the winner of the Information Science Olympiad, Xiao Xiao. I didn't expect him to be so good at street dancing. What kind of a mortal world is this? Can't the entertainment industry and the IT industry keep people here? Or are the little brothers nowadays too amazing? They have looks, strength and talent. I worship them. Just his looks alone can beat a bunch of people in the entertainment industry. The discussion about Xiao Xiao on the internet became more and more heated. Even the next morning's competition became more and more popular. The next day, at 9 o'clock in the morning, in Huanghai City's largest indoor stadium. For the sake of the coolest street dance competition in history, the entire stadium's facilities had been remodeled. The surrounding empty space was reserved for the crazy audience. In the entire stadium, there were only a few seats in the first few rows for the judges, team leaders, and others to sit. The rest of the space was completely empty. The audience could even roll around on the ground, and no one would care. This was how free and unbridled street dance was. In the middle of the stadium, a 20 by 20 meter square stage gradually rose from the ground. In the eyes of the audience, this stage covered with gaudy advertisements looked more like a boxing ring. As the dynamic music sounded in the stadium, it directly hit everyone's soul. It was as if every joint in their body was excited, and every cell was clamoring for freedom, release, and battle. Although it was daytime outside, once they entered the competition venue, the entire venue was dark. It was unknown what method was used to isolate all the sunlight from outside. All kinds of shooting lights and towering lighthouses illuminated the stage like it was daytime in the dark night. The colorful lights on the stage flickered along with the music, dazzling the audience. It was as if they had been brought into a night full of suspense and wonder. Before the competition started, the venue was already crowded with people. There were contestants who were unwilling to be eliminated, and there were also fans who had spent a lot of money to watch the competition live. The surroundings of the stage were so crowded that not even a drop of water could trickle through. The people at the back were always trying to squeeze to the front to fight for a good seat, while the people at the front were constantly blocking with their elbows to maintain their advantage. The whole scene was very lively. Since the appearance of the top 4 contestants on the internet, the topic had never stopped. It could be said that it had been intensely discussed throughout the night. People were looking forward to today's competition, and some people had already secretly opened a bet. Xiao Xiao, the newcomer, was undoubtedly the biggest dark horse. When the competition started, the host's voice floated above the stadium. Please enjoy the warm-up dance brought by the top 4 contestants. Xiao Xiao, Yi Xuanfei, Jason, and Eason ran from the 4 corners of the stage to the center. Everyone's entrance was different. Xiao Xiao directly did a continuous somersault in a freeze frame, then slid to the center. This appearance caused the audience to exclaim in surprise. Yi Xuanfei also did 2 somersaults to the center, but she did it with her hands on the ground. Compared to Xiao Xiao, it was obvious who was better. The boys' strength was indeed stronger than the girls'. Jason and Eason were not so exaggerated. One of them did a robot dance, while the other did a Jackson dance, but they still received applause from the audience. Then, the 4 of them turned their backs into a small square, facing the audience from different angles. They spun and danced with dynamic dance steps. This opening raised the atmosphere in the stadium by at least 5 degrees. The air conditioner in the stadium was originally very cold, but at this time, the audience below the stage were sweating. They couldn't wait to rush up the stage and perform freely. Some people also formed a small circle below the stage and danced up and down the stage, bubbling like boiling water. The director was very satisfied with this effect. In his heart, his goal was to take the first place in the variety show ratings. However, the arrangement of the program had to be both active and active. After the warm-up dance, the video of the top 4 contestants' competition, and some highlights from their interviews were played. At this time, everyone found out that Xiao Xiao had participated in the hip-hop competition last year. Unfortunately, he made a mistake in his battle with Jason, and lost the qualification to compete for the championship. Would he meet Jason again this year? This huge suspense stirred up everyone's nerves. Xiao Xiao's appearance in the video was the best among the 4 contestants. His eyes and his frown were infinitely magnified in the video. Every detail was so perfect, from his body to his skin, from his expression to his aura. He immediately conquered the hearts of countless audience members. At this time, Xiao Xiao had secretly set up a support group for him on the internet. The leader was Zhang Deong. When he started selling Xiao Xiao's autographed photos, he saw a business opportunity in Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao was the thigh he wanted to hug tightly. The support group was another shortcut for him to realize his family's wealth. Chapter 158. In the 8th level, Yinran had been standing there for almost half an hour, but there was no movement inside, only darkness. Quiet, very quiet, so quiet that it was terrible, as if the darkness was going to swallow everything. Yinran stretched out her hand in front of her eyes, but she couldn't see anything. It was really like the saying, you couldn't even see your 5 fingers. Yinran raised her whole body's vigilance, and used her spiritual awareness to explore again and again, but there was nothing, no threat, no movement, only her own breathing. The most important thing was that she couldn't find where the eye of the formation was, so the totem was temporarily useless. Just when she was at her wit's end, she suddenly heard a sizzling sound coming from the darkness. It sounded like the friction of metal, or the sound of nails scraping against glass. It was harsh and rough, and it came from all directions in the darkness. After a while, it was replaced by another sound. It sounded like a rodent gnawing on wood, and there was also the sound of small insects crawling. Yinran was not afraid of fierce beasts, but the sound of these small insects made her hair stand on end. Girls were naturally afraid of this kind of thing. Every hair on her body was covered with spiritual scents, and she was ready to release her spiritual power as soon as there was an attack. However, after waiting for a long time, there was still no threat. However, the two voices began to alternate in this strange darkness, making Yanran uneasy. After a while, suddenly there was a harsh sound of a zither, sometimes high and sometimes low, with a kind of tension, driving the two sounds to alternate, magnifying the horror to the extreme. In this darkness, Yanran's whole body emitted a burst of cold air, and her scalp was numb, as if there were countless eyes looking at her. She slowly retreated, her body leaning against the wall, and simply closed her eyes, no longer staring into the darkness, but only relying on her own spiritual awareness and hearing to deal with everything around her. At this moment, Yanran was calm. As long as her mind was free of distractions, these sounds would not affect her. She was just waiting for the other side to make the first move. After an unknown amount of time, Yanran sat down cross-legged. She simply entered a state of self-cultivation and shut off all her 5 senses. The spiritual power in her body had automatically circulated for a cycle. Finally, there were some changes in the external environment. Unknowingly, a trace of coldness seeped out from the surrounding walls. Yanran, who was sitting by the wall, quickly felt a chill run down her spine. Immediately after, a chill pierced through his body and into his bones. It was as if the chill that had been imprisoned for thousands of years had suddenly been released, causing him to shiver in an instant when he could no longer think. His last breath was strangely frozen. Yanran was caught off guard by this attack, but because she had spiritual energy protecting her body, her frozen breath instantly thawed like melted snow. Yanran sneered. The other party finally couldn't help but show his hand. It turned out that the eye of the array was hidden very well. It was in the walls on all sides. Yanran didn't hesitate any longer. She ordered the small sword in her totem to spin rapidly. It attacked the walls in all directions like a hot knife through butter. The small sword was like a small electric drill, chiseling the entire wall into powder. The golden light directly broke through the darkness of this level. Other than the 4 walls, there was indeed nothing else in the room. With the help of the golden light, one could only see the constantly flying wall debris. It was only a matter of time before the array was broken. Yanran sat directly in the middle of the room, where she was the least disturbed, and the dust was the furthest away from her. She continued to sit cross-legged, commanding the small sword, while continuing to circulate her spiritual energy. Xiao Zhao's battle finally began. According to the draw, his first opponent was Yisun, while Yi Xuanfei's opponent was Jason. Yisun was originally ranked last. After jumping a few points, he realized that his strength was far from Xiao Zhao's, so he lowered his head and admitted defeat. Although Yi Xuanfei's strength was also very strong, her strength was limited after all. She couldn't jump any further in the 25 rounds of battle. In the 20th round, she lowered her head and admitted defeat to Jason. However, she said to Xiao Xiao, "You must win this championship for me. If you win, it'll be the same as if I win. It'll be equivalent to defeating Jason." Hence, the champion and runner-up were placed between Xiao Xiao and Jason. The live audience and the netizens were in an uproar. The battle between Xiao Xiao and Jason that they had been waiting for had finally happened. Happiness came too suddenly. Was this the climax of the finals? The audience was immediately divided into 2 factions. One faction supported Xiao Xiao, while the other faction was, of course, the fans that Jason had accumulated over the years. This time, the music was not announced in advance. It was also because of this that the difficulty of the program was increased by a lot. The director of the program said before the competition, "The contestants are not allowed to listen to music. They have to rehearse on their own. If any music is played at the last minute, they will have to jump out immediately. This is extremely difficult." With the extremely difficult challenge, and the addition of an old rival, this competition was full of excitement. The competition was about to begin. The lights were dimmed, and a strong spotlight shone on the center of the stage. 4 large screens were placed in different directions, recording everything that happened on the stage from different angles. At the same time, The judges were sitting in the four directions, ready to cast their sacred votes at any time to push the Almighty recognized by them and the audience to the throne of the champion. The music started. According to the drawing of lots, Xiao Xiao was the first to go on stage. Since he did not know the specific rhythm of the music, Xiao Xiao took the safer robot step to go on stage. Only the first two rhythms were slightly dull. Xiao Xiao seemed to have grasped the essence of the music and the drumbeat immediately. Then, he immediately began to show his true strength. He was best at touch electricity, body separation, and speed control perfectly matched the music. A few exaggerated chest vibrations along with the drumbeat of the music seemed to have shaken the entire stadium. The vibrations seemed to have caused a resonance, and everyone started to stomp their feet. Xiao Zhao's performance was based on the plot. He was especially good at communicating with the audience. He could perfectly combine his performance with the music and show the characteristics and meaning of the music. Before he went on stage, he borrowed a hat from someone, and the hat seemed to come alive in his hand. It flew up and down, as if it was a cute pet of his. Coupled with his facial movements, such as pouting and kissing, it was very cute. The battle time was very short. Soon it was Jason's turn to go on stage. Jason was indeed last year's champion. His super balance caused the audience to exclaim as soon as he went on stage. However, because he was not familiar with the music, there was a slight pause in the middle. Then, he quickly switched to the dance type with a locking, freestyle touch electricity, followed by body separation and speed control, perfectly matching the music. The audience was in a dilemma. Xiao Xiao and Jason were both very strong. Who should they choose? In the second round, Xiao Xiao began to perform difficult moves. After he went on stage, he performed a few basic wrist movements, and then a Thomas spin. This movement required a lot of strength, including the strength of the arms, waist, and legs. It also consumed a lot of stamina. Without a certain foundation, it was impossible to perform it as smoothly as Xiao Xiao. Then he did a classic breakdance move, the head turn. It was very cool and very difficult. Everyone at the scene went crazy. This time, Jason went on stage again. His movements were a bit dull. Although he did it well, he was still a level lower than Xiao Xiao in terms of difficulty. After that, Xiao Xiao became more and more awesome with each dance. His movements became more and more difficult, as if he had an endless supply of energy. He did not seem to be exhausted because of the increasing number of matches. Instead, he became more and more excited as he danced. Jason obviously could not do it. After nearly 20 rounds, he was almost exhausted. For the rest of the dance, he could only do some simple moves without moving. When he saw Xiao Xiao do a handstand again, he knew that he had lost. Jason's heart was pent up with anger. His defeated opponent might even be a person with evil energy. He couldn't believe that he had defeated him. In the last round of the dance battle, he went all out and was about to press down on Xiao Zhao's arm. Xiao Xiao saw his movement and was prepared for it. Last time, I lost to you because of Yin Ran. This time, don't think that you can play any tricks on me. Xiao Xiao slid sideways, followed by a series of ground movements. She performed a pantomime on the ground, lowering her knees, and finally a freestyle street dance. She pretended to slap Jason's face, and ended the performance with a musical performance. In any case, Jason had persevered until the end. However, Xiao Zhao's performance was impeccable. It was a visual feast for the eyes of the audience. The director was very excited as he narrated. He raised his voice. From the final result, they really did it. They presented a very good effect. The effect of the whole scene and the intensity of the scene was very impressive. The judges and the team leader unanimously said that this was the first time they had seen such a performance in their lives. It was very successful. The chairman of the board, Zhang Zongyao, said, "There are no absolute rules in the dance competition. Different types of dance have different judging standards. For example, the pop-in is judged based on the size, texture, body control of the pop, the roundness of the roll, and the quality of the connection. The WA/VE is obvious. The smoothness of the connection, the quality of the connection, the quality of the frame, the way of the music expression, the effect of the performance, and the effect of the scene. And this year's champion, Xiao Xiao, is very special in these aspects. He has a solid foundation, a strong plot, and amazing explosive movements. He has integrated the required movements, such as windmill, head turn, Thomas, 1990, top rock, and footwork into the story. The audience is influenced by his emotions and driven by the music, interpreting the essence of the dance. He deserves to be the champion. Chapter 159. The biggest beneficiary of Xiao Zhao's victory in this hip-hop competition was Zhang Deong. From the message he sent to Xiao Xiao proudly, it could be seen that Xiao Zhao's autographed photos had been sold for 1,500 yuan each. Zhang Deong was already preparing to make some gifts for Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao laughed when he saw this. You're a student whose biggest specialty is sports. You really have the potential to be a manager. Zhang Deong was overwhelmed by Xiao Zhao's sudden rise to fame. The number of his support group continued to increase. His biggest advantage was that he could obtain first-hand information at any time. Moreover, his support group was officially recognized by Xiao Xiao. Ever since Xiao Xiao won the Information Science Olympiad, he had also registered an official Weibo account. However, he had never posted a single message. The first message he posted was to support Zhang Deong. Zhang Deong was very busy. He was a third-year high school student, and yet he was still busy with this. It seemed a little overwhelming. Fortunately, because he was a sports student, it was slightly easier for him to study. He simply found 2 enthusiastic fans to help him. Soon, Xiao Zhao's support group was officially registered on Weibo. It had already been released when Xiao Xiao was preparing for the hip-hop competition. Xiao Zhao's first business message was posted on Weibo. It was the video of the finals of his hip-hop competition. The fans below screamed and licked the screen crazily. They no longer needed to search for it online. They could directly obtain it through official channels. This super post was really too awesome. Xiao Xiao felt that his spiritual power was becoming more and more abundant. The number of his fans quickly increased to a few million. Brother Xiao, do you know? Just today, you're about to catch up with the popular celebrities. The number of your fans has already reached a few million. Zhang Deong was so excited that he almost fainted. He was already calculating that if millions of people had Xiao Zhao's autographed photo, then his dream of owning a mine would soon come true. Xiao Xiao felt that his spiritual power was constantly rising, and his whole body was incomparably comfortable. He didn't care what Zhang Deong was doing. In any case, if he had any requests, he could just tell him, and he would do his best to fulfill them. It was just that Zhang Deong's hands would be a little weak from signing autographs. He asked Zhang Deong if he could directly print them, but Zhang Deong said seriously, "That won't do. The fans want your handwriting with fingerprints on it." Xiao Xiao said directly, "The rarer something is, the more valuable it is. If you satisfy them all at once, you won't be able to sell it for 1,500 yuan. Zhang Deong thought about it and agreed. "How about this? There are only 5,000 copies this time. If you want them, you'll have to wait another 2 months. Zhang Deong, you capitalist, 5,000 is still a lot. Do you want me to sign to death? Xiao Xiao was a little troubled in this aspect. He directly gave Zhang Deong a task. If you want to sell my autograph photo, that's fine, but you have to learn how to sign my autograph. In the future, you'll just have to sign it for me. Otherwise, I won't agree. Zhang Deong was stunned when he heard this. How can I do that? This is a token of my fans' sincerity. The fans will also feel sorry for their idol. Previously, I've already signed 500 copies for you. Xiao Xiao said matter-of-factly. Zhang Deong didn't dare to do this. He could only reduce the 5,000 copies to 500 copies and hang up the phone crying. After the street dance competition, Xiao Xiao thought that he would be fine. But he didn't expect that the dogskin plaster Yi Xuanfei was already waiting for him in the backstage. When he hung up the phone, Yi Xuanfei directly served him a bowl of chicken soup. Brother Qiao, I asked the servants to make this. Hurry up and drink it. The street dance competition is too exhausting. I couldn't take it anymore just now. Yi Xuanfei's eyes were sparkling. This was the championship she had dreamed of. She didn't expect that she wouldn't get it, but Xiao Xiao would. After watching Xiao Xiao's final competition, Yi Xuanfei couldn't help but admit that Xiao Xiao was much stronger than her. So she admitted defeat wholeheartedly. And wasn't it the same if Xiao Xiao won the championship, as if she won the championship? Yi Xuanfei thought shyly in her heart. Maybe they would be a family in the future. Xiao Xiao was really hungry. He didn't stand on ceremony with Yi Xuanfei. He walked to the side, picked up the chicken soup and drank it. Yi Xuanfei sat at the side and watched him drink happily. She saw that Xiao Xiao had a special appetite when he ate. In her eyes, although Xiao Xiao ate quickly, every movement of his was so elegant. Yi Xuanfei was watching happily when her phone rang. When she saw that it was her grandfather, she picked it up. It turned out that her grandfather had given her a mission. She was to help the two people who were involved in the Golden Years incident and help them transport the goods out of the country. Xiao Xiao didn't pay attention at first, but later on, the words Golden Years entered his ears. He also mentioned that they were going to send them out of the country. Xiao Xiao immediately recalled the secret that he and Yanran went to find out. This matter must have something to do with Yanran. Why would old Master Yi want to help the people from the Golden Years? Weren't they all cultivators? Why would they help the enemy? Xiao Xiao didn't have much of an appetite with doubts. He saw that Yi Xuanfei was a little anxious, as if she was about to leave. He grabbed her wrist and stared straight into her eyes. Where are you going, Xuanfei? I'll accompany you. Yi Xuanfei paused. Her eyes were filled with surprise, but she was also a little hesitant. The mission that her grandfather had given her was very urgent. But seeing that Xiao Xiao was taking the initiative to show goodwill to her, she was in a dilemma. Xuanfei, where are you going? I definitely won't get in your way. I just want to accompany you. Xiao Xiao said affectionately again. This time, his words made Yi Xuanfei dizzy. Seeing her own reflection in Xiao Xiao's eyes, she nodded helplessly. Just like that, Xiao Xiao and Yi Xuanfei left the street dance scene together and went to the mysterious 4-story factory. Yanran finally arrived at the last stage. She knew that most formations had 9 stages. The ancients had always thought that 9 stages were the most important. This stage should be the most difficult of all the formations. Yanran was extremely alert. In this stage there was finally a living thing. A woman was sitting in the center of the formation. A living person. But at this moment, she was like an old monk in meditation. She didn't move or say a word and sat there with her eyes closed. Yanran looked around vigilantly. Then, she used her spiritual awareness to check out the person in front of her. She realized that the eye of the formation was on her body. But this made things difficult for Yanran. To break the formation, she had to destroy the eye of the formation. In other words, she had to kill this person. But as Yanran, who was this person that she didn't know? Why was she in this formation? Did she have a reason to kill her? Was she a good or bad person? After all, Yanran had been influenced by humans since she was young. She was very cautious when it came to killing people. She went forward and asked coldly, "Who are you?" Finally there was some movement. She saw the meditating woman open her eyes at this moment. Her sleeves moved, and Yanran seemed to hear the sound of iron chains dragging on the ground. I'm the spirit of the formation that is locked in this formation. The world was big, and there were all kinds of strange things. She had heard of book spirits, sword spirits, and saber spirits. But how could there be a formation spirit? Then can you let me out? Yanran asked directly. I'm opening the entrance to another space. Do you want to take a look at the other space? The woman didn't answer Yanran's question directly. Instead, she slowly made another suggestion. Yanran didn't understand. The woman looked up and glanced at Yanran. Your body is too weak. You might not even be able to be swallowed by those beasts. Many people want to use me to enter that space to cultivate. In that space you will have endless challenges. However, these challenges can allow you to soar to the sky and become the most powerful person in the world. Don't you want to try? Yanran realized that she couldn't communicate with this person. She simply said, if you don't let me out, then we will have to fight. Sorry for the offense. The woman laughed softly. I'm not lying to you. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you are willing, Then I will send you directly into that space until you become a god. If you don't want to go and still want to attack me, then this earth demon formation won't be as easy as you think." With that, the woman waved her long sleeves. Then, Yanran saw that 2 thick chains were tied around her hands. They extended from her wrists to the ground. As she waved her long sleeves, the scene in front of Yanran changed completely. In front of her appeared an empty martial arts field. There were 18 kinds of weapons on both sides, and a person was standing in the middle. It was Elder Yen. At this moment, Elder Yen was holding a knife in his hand. He raised it high and was chopping towards her. Yanran immediately realized that this was an illusion. This Elder Yen must be an illusion of that person. She collected her thoughts and began to fight seriously. Yanran's eyes were burning with the desire to fight. The 2 figures were as fast as the wind and immediately collided with each other. The extreme speed caused the wind to roar. Yanran's body almost became a blur. The blazing white air mass above her head covered her whole body. She launched powerful attacks at Elder Yen again and again. Elder Yen didn't want to be outdone. The strong sense of oppression, like a huge mountain, pressed towards Yanran's chest. The huge momentum was like 2 dragons, each with its own force field, sweeping across the clear sky above her head. 2 silhouettes flashed occasionally, their speed dazzling to the eye. This formation soul was very powerful. Although it was just an illusion, its real strength was as good as Yanran's. The fierce battle was still going on. Elder Yan's long knife and Yanran's short knife collided from time to time. The strong wind in the air didn't stop. They were in a stalemate. But at this moment, Elder Yen suddenly shouted, "Yanran, you unfilial descendant! How dare you attack your grandpa?" Yanran was surprised. Looking at her grandpa's appearance, she told herself that this was an illusion. She couldn't be disturbed by it. She didn't answer. She lowered her head and fought seriously. At this moment, Elder Yen seemed to be possessed by a demon. He kept scolding Yanran. "Where is your responsibility? Where is your mission? You can only point your knife at outsiders. When can you point it at your own people?" This sentence made Yanran slip. Elder Yan's knife grazed her nose and cut off a strand of her long hair. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.